Hey.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Friday 3D Printing Community Hangout. This week, we're joined by a fellow maker in the community that some of you may or may not have heard of. Everybody, welcome to the Friday 3D Printing Community Hangout. Leave it to me to screw this up. We're joined by... Sorry about that. We're joined by Wes Swain of the Geeksmithing on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Wes does a little bit with 3D printing in his workflow and is kind of along the same lines as I am, where he uses woodworking, metalworking, basically any tool, any skill at his disposal, he'll make use of. So let's go ahead tonight and start with intros from the panel. Mitch, you want to go ahead and do your intro?
Yeah, sure. You can see me. My name is Mitch. Mitch3D is my channel, and I am currently working on my backpack printer version 2. You might have seen me at Murph and Earth before, and let's see here. Sorry. I'll show you my face. There you go. Yeah, so I worked on the backpack printer last year, and it took me about a couple weeks to build, and that was kind of my first Fusion 360 project. And so this is going to be even more difficult than last year, but it's going to be a more refined version of the backpack printer using a CMC H2. So hopefully I'll get that done by Murph, and you guys will see it. So that's what I do.
Cool. All right, Sean, over to you.
All right, my name is Sean. I hope you all can hear me. My name is Sean. I do a whole bunch of different stuff. I work at IC3D. I make filament, and I also do my own stuff, art mods, shenanigans, all that stuff on all the Twitters, Instagrams, all that kind of sorts of things. Other than that, I just like to do some artwork and draw and make things. So that's me in a nutshell.
All right. And that moves us over to Wes. Go ahead, Wes. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you've alluded to, my name is Wes. I run a channel called Geeksmithing, where I basically kind of take like a nostalgic approach to like a lot of different subject matter. Usually it's around like retro gaming, but not exclusively. It can deal with like woodworking or 3D printing, laser engraving, CNC, casting, mold making, sculpture, painting, like basically just any material, any new process I can get my hands on. And I kind of take like an artistic approach to a lot of those, like where I'll just kind of have a project and I'll learn whatever new things I need to learn just for that one particular project, and just use the techniques as like different material kind of thought processes to get through a project. And then I'll put that aside and move on to something else, just kind of like exploring new materials and new ways to do things that I might not have used before. So it's kind of like an exciting exploration of stuff. Probably my most famous video, if you guys have seen it, it was a nursery that I did for my son. It's a Mario Kart themed nursery where it has two 11-foot wide murals. I would bring up a picture, but I wasn't prepared to do that. So if you look it up, you'll see it's got like some big murals for Mario Kart 8 themed nursery with a like 3-foot long Mario and Kart suspended upside down on the ceiling that I sculpted out of insulation foam. That kind of got some good publicity when I put it out there. That was pretty cool. And since then, I've been doing other projects. A lot of them, some of them have dealt with 3D printing in some regard, but not exclusively, kind of like what you suggested. It's kind of like a part of my workflow. So if I use it in the process, then that's cool. And I've got 2 printers. Still looking forward to experimenting with like different filament types and stuff. I got some Ninja Flex to try out for another project. And that's kind of like the the thing is I always have like a list of projects that I'm trying to get through and sort of have a reason to explore the different projects, like in order to gain like an achievement, if you will, for like a different material or a different process to have an excuse to work on that project, if that makes sense. So, and I'm based in North Carolina. If there's any other North Carolinians out here.
Here's
I used to live in North Carolina.
Nice.
So everything in this, Wes, you made, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah, the Lakitu I made, he's got an Arduino inside of him with a wave shield and a Super Nintendo controller to control the interface. I didn't make those little mobile characters. Those were from the Happy Meals that came out right at the same time as Mario Kart 8. And I started this nursery before the game came out, and I finished it after the game came out. So that's how long I worked on the thing. It was like over a course of a year and a half. I started before my son was born and finished right before his first birthday.
Wow.
There were a lot of different stages to this. As you can see, like there was a lot of painting. So I did all that stuff up front, pretty much before he was born, since I could kind of have free reign in his room. And then I moved into my basement and worked on that guy there, as you see, the Mario Kart with LED lights and all that sort of stuff. And that was there's no parts on there that are 3D printed. I'm sorry to say at this time I didn't have a 3D printer, but there are some CNC components there. There's some electronics, obviously, for the LED lights.
Yeah, but that makes it cooler because you actually spent time on it to actually sculpt it or mill it or whatever, you know. You put more thought into it than a 3D model and then print it. So.
I also feel that I gained I kind of worked for that shortcut, quote unquote, that a lot of people say that 3D printing is, right? They just assume you hit the button and it works.
Right.
I kind of earned the ability or the right to use the 3D printer because I went through it the hard way. You know, now I can just sculpt it in Maya or Fusion and just hit print.
Yeah.
You know, creating the object for me with no other issues whatsoever. So.
Yeah, that's super cool. I really enjoy what you did. Like, you did a really good job.
I think Carl said it best in the chat. What you said about unfortunately, none of this is 3D printed. Carl said it right, though. It's badass regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like watching these time lapses of it, the painting on the wall and stuff. I mean, just that alone is cool.
Your mural is spot on. It's beautiful, dude.
Thank you.
I actually
colors and contrasts
first time I ever saw that video, I thought that a lot of the graphics were vinyl graphics or something like that, like the fathead stickers or something. And then you got to the time lapses, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah, I had a bunch of pictures during the painting process, but because it took so long, I couldn't realistically film all of the paintings. So I had to come up with a way that was not as boring as just a static slideshow. So I kind of had a little bit of experience in After Effects, just enough to be dangerous. And I started doing some transition-y, morphy kind of stuff, and that was a lot of fun. Make it more interesting than a boring PowerPoint, basically.
So did you just finish this?
No, this has been a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just highlighting the first kind of project. That kind of.
So he's 3 now.
He's he'll be 5 in June.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So a couple years is like more than a few years.
It feels like a couple years when you
yeah, I bet
start coming out. So.
It goes by fast.
Yeah.
Does he enjoy it still?
He does. Yeah. I don't think he realizes that every kid doesn't have something like that in their room because that's all he's known.
Yeah.
So he's sure he's a little bit.
Even though he has a super awesome dad.
I had a lot of 30-somethings asked to be my adopted son after posting that on Reddit.
I bet.
Yeah.
So one of the questions in the chat, Mr. Buttram, I think, asked, what 3D printers do you have now? When you did the Mario Kart bedroom, you didn't have any 3D printers, but you've since acquired a few, right?
Yeah, the first one I've got two. The first one I got was a Lulzbot Taz 5. I picked up, and that did me pretty well. That was before I knew about a lot. Well, that's not true. I did some homework and just determined that was a good one to get for having the ability to tinker if I wanted to, but it seemed to be more reliable at the time of kind of like a workhorse kind of machine compared to some of the other ones, and they got a lot of accolades and stuff at the time. So I figured if I was going to get into it, I might as well just start off there. And I did a fair amount of stuff. I started doing some instructables that included 3D printing in the process, and they had a 3D printed related contest, and that'll lead to my next project that actually does include 3D printing, since that's sort of the captive audience here. And in Fusion, I modeled, show up here, modeled a character from Mario Brothers, which some of you guys might recognize, the Thwomp. He's been in lots of different iterations. Modeled that in Fusion 360, and then I went through a couple iterations, and then I made a silicone mold of it.
Wow.
As you can see here. And the video I have a video about this on my channel as well. And it covers the trials and tribulations of this project, of which there were many. And from this mold, I poured, it took me like 5 or 6 attempts to get this working right. But I poured cement in there to make a cement version of Thwomp, because that character is sort of like a cement character. And I didn't want to just stop there, because why would I? I'd like to make it more difficult for myself. So I actually embedded a Raspberry Pi on the inside, a Raspberry Pi Zero, and put some classic games on there. I've got a controller sticking out. I think I burned up 3 Pi Zeros in this process because I kept destroying them. Either I had originally like a USB hub in there, and that kind of got fried or something. And then I went through several different waterproofing methods and settled on, actually I have a bottle of it here. I settled on liquid electrical tape, which I coated the Raspberry Pi in, and that basically makes it completely waterproof. And then I proceeded to paint the front of the guy to make him look like the character. Added some like mossy stuff, like railroad moss on there, and kind of textured him and made him look pretty cool, and made him look as realistic as I could. And then I submitted that as an instructable for the 3D printing related contest, and I ended up taking a first prize with that. And I won a 3D printer in the 3D printing contest. So I actually won my second printer. After I spent all that money on the Taz, I got a Prusa i3 Mark II kit. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome, but like having a 3D printer as a prize for your 3D printing contest is sort of counterintuitive, because you need one to get there, but whatever. It's kind of silly, but I ended up getting the second one, which was cool. So I've been using that for some other projects, since that has the capability to do a little finer detail and some Ninja Flex, which again I hope to use in another project. But yeah, I just like using 3D printing as like a stepping stone into other things a lot of the time. Use them in interesting ways.
That's a good reason why I wanted to bring you on the streams, Wes, because you see a lot of times when you talk about 3D printing, people always, you always see the comment in the Facebook groups and on Twitter occasionally about where's your practical uses of a 3D printer. And the way you use it, while it's not specifically practical, like making the
everybody needs one of these. You don't have one of these?
it was probably like with the Raspberry Pi issues throughout that project, it was probably a very impractical use. But you're using 3D printers as a tool more than just printing figures and props and things like that. That's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, is because, you know, what a lot of people think is practical, some of the pretty stuff is practical, like the Thwomp mold. You have a printed version of it, and then you have your cast, the one that you used for the mold. what's some of the ways that you've used it in other projects that you do? Like, how do you use your printers day to day?
Let's see. Currently, I recently got a K40 laser engraver / cutter. It's a 40-watt laser, and I've made some accessories with it. There are different nozzles you can get to add. It's called Air Assist. That it kind of increases the cutting capabilities of your laser, makes it a little safer. And I've created a rotary tool. Let me see if I got it over here. I'm using it in more practical ways from a maker perspective. I've 3D modeled a little housing or a little chassis here for this rotary, which is basically just a stepper motor from like another 3D printer, and it spins these two rods. So you can put like a water bottle or some other cylindrical object on here, and it'll spin the object while the laser is moving back and forth, and it'll engrave your object. And so I used Fusion 360 to create the chassis basically to hold everything together. So I try to use it in less fantastical ways, but I tend to want to use it in silly ways that no one would expect. But I definitely appreciate the practicality if I can actually have an excuse to make something practical.
Well, and that's like what RepRap and 3D printing started. That was what it was all about, is a printer in every home to create tools, to create things that you need at a whim. You don't have to go to the hardware store and get what you need. You can make it at your house. So I think you are doing the true spirit of 3D printing right there. And with that mold you made, I think that is a fantastic practical print, and that thing looked awesome. Because you created the tooling, the mold, the cast. Mm-hmm. You created the mold and then you casted it. So you did a print that was practical to create the item that you wanted. So I think that is fantastic.
Thanks. Let's see. I thought I had another example here somewhere, but they're kind of scattered. So another project, another Mario character, surprise. You see a trend here. Cappy from Mario Odyssey. That's part of another project that I hope to get out in the next couple months. That uses a Raspberry Pi in an interesting way. But trying to think of other examples. So I've got a robot that I had when I was a kid. It's from the 80s. You guys, I don't know, it might be older than a lot of the people watching the stream, but made from Radio Shack. Yeah, I got some fans on there. So this is actually not my original one. Who knows what happened to the original. I think I went in the Navy and I got rid of all my kid stuff because I was, too old for that sort of crap. And so I, of course, regret that now. So I bought this on eBay like a year or so ago. And he was broken. I fixed up. He had some electronic issues, so I repaired those. And then he's got little tires on the bottom that are little wheels that need some tire tread. The tires have dry rotted off, so I want to use the Ninja Flex to print some tread, maybe something kind of custom. Maybe it'll have my name or Geeksmithing in the tread. It goes through sand or something. Who knows? But it's kind of an interesting project because they're actually tapered. So it wouldn't be just a flat print. It'll actually be part of a cone shape. So it's an interesting solution. So it'd be another project that I'm looking to use 3D printing on. Just again, it's like a part of something else.
It'd be cool to run it over some cookie dough.
There you go.
And bake a giant single sheet of cookies.
We'll see
the logo on it.
He also has a tray, so you can put the cookies on the tray and have them,
Yeah, exactly. See, that's a good idea.
Hello. 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 I'm Robbie Jr.
This was broken when I got it, like I say, and I repaired it on a Twitch stream that I have. I'm not on there a lot, but I kind of do wacky, weird stuff on there. And resurrecting him was one of the favorite things I did on the stream. I hadn't heard that voice since I was 12 years old, practically. And so getting it working and actually having it come alive, it was pretty awesome. So,
heck yeah.
Wes, what is your Twitch stream, just for the people that are watching? And there are some links in the description to Wes's website, YouTube, and Twitter, just because they're the ones I know off the top of my head.
Yeah. Pretty much all of them is whatever the platform is /Geeksmithing. The exception to that is YouTube. I had to put some other crap in there, but yeah, a lot of people get stuck with a name they don't want. I did the custom one, but anyways, yeah, if you do like Instagram /Geeksmithing or Twitter /Geeksmithing or Twitch.tv /Geeksmithing, you'll get it. And so I've been doing a lot of retro repair stuff on there in the last couple months. So I've got like a couple Rob robots that I've been fixing, some NESs. I was looking for a broken NES over the last couple months. I ordered several, went through several on eBay, trying to find a legitimately broken one. And when I say legitimately broken, I mean one that I was out of my capabilities to easily repair it. So like I would buy it and they said broken, and I wanted to do something to the machine where I actually would like use the chassis in some way that would like basically destroy it or make it not, official or original anymore. And as a like retro game lover, I couldn't bear the thought of me actually like tearing one open that worked. So I wanted to buy a broken one, right? So I buy one and I open it up, and this is on the Twitch stream, and I was like, oh, I can fix this. So it's like my Hippocratic geek oath to fix it if I could. And like, damn it. I was like mad that I actually could fix it. I'm like, oh, I got to buy another one. Oh, what a burden this is. So I went through like 3 of those, like with slightly different problems, and I was able to fix them. So now I've got a surplus of NESs. Geez, I could gift them away, or I was going to do one for like a certain milestone on my Twitch or YouTube channel or something. Just give it away. I thought that'd be kind of neat. But after 3 attempts, I finally found one that was broken beyond my ability to fix. And that did have 3D printing in it, although not too much. And if you guys will indulge me, I'll show you. I haven't really released much about this online. But as you can see, it looks like a normal NES for the most part. But it has where you lift the cartridge.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's got the
that's pretty
controllers in there, right? That they slide in. They're wireless. All right. And the interesting part is there's a hidden projector.
Oh,
whoa.
Man.
And if I turn it on, you won't be able to see it because of, well, my shop is too bright. Maybe I can show you my screen.
That's freaking awesome.
What?
Is that a classic edition?
There's a classic edition NES inside the NES. Yes.
That's awesome.
Man,
why not? Now I need a Pico projector.
Man, how much are you charging commission?
Yeah. I was gonna say you're gonna win the internet on that one.
In addition to have wireless controllers, I figure why stop there? I've got inductive charging coils inside of the controllers that I modded, and I've got little when you plug them in here, you actually see LEDs start pulsating, indicating they're charging. And
you're a madman.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You guys are getting a sneak peek. I haven't shown anybody this. So there's the NES inside, if you can see it.
What? Oh, it's a baby. It's like a kangaroo.
So I made it a challenge to I can modify anything except, like, I can hack or electronically alter anything except the classic edition. So the classic is not electronically altered in any way. It's plugged in normally, but I used other means to like turn it on. You hit the reset button. So I actually put like a little physical linkage in there. So when you push this reset, it like pushes the thing that pushes the reset button on the thing to get back to the main menu. I've got a custom battery pack in there. It's a mess of wires. As it's the little blue guy in there. That's like some lithium ion battery pack and stuff. And the other thing to make it, it's already over the top, but if I wanted to make it another level above that, like, it's already wireless, it's already completely, disconnected. How do you charge this? Do you have a cable sticking out? I'm like, you could do that, but the more interesting way I don't have it plugged in, unfortunately, to wow you with electronics wizardry, but I have a Super Nintendo mouse pad.
Oh no!
Which is the same shape as the base of the NES, just coincidentally. I've got another larger inductive coil in the bottom of the NES, and I'm going to have the mating one on underneath the mouse pad. So when you plop it on there, it'll slowly. It's super slow, but it technically works. And it changes the LED on the front. Instead of red, it changes it to green to indicate it's charging. And on the back, I have, I don't know, you probably can't see it. There's an LED. There's like this percentage that the battery is at.
Oh.
It's like 88% or whatever it is. It was like a proof of concept. Kind of wonder if I could do this. Why not? So
you're like the Beaker of the gaming world.
I'll take it. That's the highest compliment I could ever be given right there. And so I've got a little. You're gonna ask where the 3D printing is inside of here. This little tiny thing is the only 3D printing. I'm sorry to tell you guys.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a mercury switch in there. Whoops. There's a mercury switch in there that it detects when the hatch is up, and that's actually the thing that turns the projector on. So the idea is when you lift the thing up to get your controllers out, it's up for like at least 3 seconds, which is the power on.
Oh my god!
Environment for the projector in there. It had to be pressed for 3 seconds. So that when you close this, it'll be on, and then you lift it up to put the controllers back in, and it'll start the shutdown sequence of the projector. There, just did it. So yeah, so I'm working on the video for that. So look forward to that. And here's another little plate to kind of magnetically attach to make it look like a stock NES again as much as possible. So, oh, sorry, it's got a kickstand as well. Sorry, I forgot that. The most important one. And it's magnetically held in there. So it kind of raises the inclination. Sorry, I keep bumping the mic. It raises the inclinations to shoot it over the table. So yeah, I do weird stuff that no one would ask another person to make.
Well, you made the chat stop talking.
Hey. He impressed Paul. Always like a joke that Paul's the mad scientist of the 3D printing community. He takes big liquid handling CNC machines and turns them into 3D printers. I mean, these things are, I forget what he said at Printed Solid's meetup last weekend, but I mean, they're basically untouchable by any of us financially. And he gets them used and abused and busted up and turns them into 3D printers, but then makes them do things like you can take and smack the hot end and it'll just go boing and bounce back to where it was and start printing again and never lose its steps.
Nice.
It developed a 4 or 5 head, I think it's 4 head tool changer that's inspired from a microscope, the way you turn the lenses on a microscope. So for you to wow Paul, that's cool.
Paul does some crazy stuff too.
I don't think they cared that we were supposed to be 3D printing related. So what other, keep going with your projects, Wes. What's some other stuff that you've done in the past that does,
let's see.
Who cares if it's 3D printing related or not?
Well, I had never done any woodworking of any significance. Like I built a bed or something for my daughter, which is, it's more like functional woodworking. It wasn't like artistic. It was just like a set of plans that I got from like annawhite.com. It's like a popular furniture maker, super simple kind of stuff. But then I wanted to do some artistic woodworking, and I didn't have a table saw. I never used a woodworking router. I never used a woodworking chisel. I never used, it was the first time I used a table saw. Did I lose you guys? Oh, since I was in middle school. So I bought a table saw on Craigslist for $70, which was like super sketch. And I built a Mario, surprise, I built a Mario themed bookcase for the room that you saw before, the nursery, because we had like a giant, for those of you asking if I do have a YouTube channel, I do. It's, I tried to post a link, but it wouldn't let me. YouTube.com/ Geeksmithing101, or you can just type Geeksmithing in the search. It'll find it. So I made a Mario themed bookcase. So you got the question mark blocks and the bricks from Mario Brothers. And so I made a custom, see if I can find a picture of it. A custom bookcase using inlaid wood. I gotta scroll through all my little videos. I'll bring it up here in a second.
I do. Wes's channel is in the description. I did manage to get that in a while. Wes, you're now a moderator, so you can post links.
Oh, sweet. Thanks, man.
Sorry about that.
You're good. So I think I'm sharing the screen now. So we had like a giant Tupperware full of books, and I figured that's not a storage medium, befitting of a room like this. So I came up with some sketches and did some woodworking, used some tools that were at a friend's house, and kind of came up with a layout of the doors, which is a question mark block, and I routed out the main parts and then hand chiseled away the finer details, as you can see there. I won't bore you through the whole video, but just so you get an idea. And I'd never used a chisel before, and I actually hooked up with a couple other makers. This one other woodworker online, in particular, named Andy Berkey. He's got a YouTube channel as well, and he's actually where the hat that I'm wearing, his icon is this little character here, coincidentally. And he taught me through Google Hangouts how to use a woodworking chisel, like the proper way to sharpen them, like old school style, like the proper way to actually go about cutting in different ways. And so this project was not possible without other makers in the various communities that I kind of leaned on their experience. So here you see me using different types of wood to basically like inlay like the puzzle pieces that make up the graphics of the shelf. So you can see I'm sanding some parts of it and chiseling more stuff. This took over the course of 9 months to build in my basement. My projects, I'm not particularly fast at a lot of them because I kind of get to them as I have time, especially having 2 kids now. And at the time I had 2 dogs. So that took up a lot of, oh yeah, my wife, she took up some time too. But now, and I was also learning as I went. So I didn't know what the hell I was doing for the most of this project. But over the course of 9 months of inlaying things, I got pretty good at that part of it. But then it came time to actually do the furniture part, and I didn't have 9 months of experience of that particular part of the assembly and actual furniture design and structural stuff. So this was the first time I had ever done, built a cabinet, and that was kind of a pain in the butt. But I got through it, did the cabinetry hardware, which is another pain in the butt. Drilled some holes through the back of the thing to mount the hardware, which if I messed up, it would have blown a hole through the front of this inlaid piece, which was super stressful. Then I get to the end. There, I put the finish on the woodworking piece, which is always kind of like the money shot, if you will. You do the whole project just for that moment to see how cool it looks when you put the finish on. And it kind of brings out the color and the detail and whatnot. And so then I deliver it to his room. There you go. You see the kind of the scale of it. So the question marks are doors that swing open, and the bricks are blocks that you push them and they pop out. They're drawers. So he's got all of his books and everything in his room. So again, I just kind of approach woodworking as just another artist, kind of another paintbrush, if you will, in the artist tool bag. Like I wanted to do some artwork or do some artistic woodworking, and that was kind of my excuse to do that. And I haven't really done any woodworking since, but I kind of use these videos. I don't really express it a lot in there. I could probably do a better job at storytelling, but I want to show that even though this is the first time I did a lot of these things, you can do a lot more than you think you're capable of if you just kind of put the right amount of time into it and the right amount of effort. And again, I didn't have a CNC at the time, which I would have killed for to cut all those pockets out for those pieces. So again, I feel like I've earned the respect or the opportunity or the ability to use a CNC machine, because I know how tough doing it by hand was, which was not fun. I got a lot of cuts on my hands from sharpening the chisels and stuff. But it came out pretty good. I'm super proud of that. And a lot of people don't even, like, when they go in the room, they're so drawn to like the artwork on the room, they don't even notice the bookcase, which is a good and a bad thing. But then I pointed out and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Then the project, it came out really nice, but I think a lot of people don't really, they think I just kind of like painted it. They don't really understand that I hand carved all the little channels and everything. But so it was a cool project. I'm happy I did it, but kind of like the Mario Kart on the ceiling, a lot of people think from when they watch the video, if they don't watch the whole thing, they think I just bought the thing.
Right.
So it's sort of a double-edged sword. They kind of don't. So sorry, I'm having a brain fart. They don't really think I put the time into the object that I did, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but what other?
Yes, there's a link. David Randolph posted in the chat. You'll get a kick out of this one. 10 years ago, he held the world record. There's a video of him getting the world record for the largest NES controller. He did say it's since been beat. His is 8 foot, and
I've seen that. Yeah. Nice. I remember that. That's classic. Yeah.
Dave's one of the co-owners of Printed Solid.
Okay, nice.
Worked with Tech TV, and he's been on Hack 5 here more recently, doing some videos about 3D printing. But yeah, I figured you'd get a kick out of that one.
Absolutely.
You got Mr. Buttram asked, "Is there anything Wes can't do?"
I don't know. I haven't done it yet.
That's a pretty good answer.
Um,
What's something you'd like to do?
Well, I picked up a welder. I never welded before. I picked up a welder at Harbor Freight, like the cheapest one that probably doesn't work. I've got it sitting a couple rooms over. It stares at me every time I come in or out of the shop. So it's just kind of antagonizing me, reminding me, hey, you need to do something with me. So once it warms up here in North Carolina, I'll do some more. I'll do some welding for the first time. So I don't know what I'm going to make. I'll probably make something, hopefully not Mario themed, because I'm kind of running out of Mario ideas right now. That's not actually true.
Oh, Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
Tony Ryan said in the chat, and I'm gonna kind of turn this into a question for you.
Yes.
I'm sure you get asked this. Like, he said they like the stuff like the your son's bedroom and the different items in his bedroom. Tony Ryan said he gets the request for 3D printing. Can you make me a ... And people don't realize how much effort goes into design, CAD, watching videos, and learning the software and tools to do the tasks that you do. Do you get asked that question a lot from people who see the things that your projects and stuff?
From time to time, I had a lot of people ask me about the Lakitu mobile that you saw in the front of the other video. More for that particular part of the project than any other thing, honestly. I guess there were a lot of expectant families that would love to have had one of those over their newborn. I guess that was one of the first projects I had made, and actually, if I can bring it up, there was actually I had done some other murals before the Mario Kart one, where that was a part of the original design. And I didn't save the code for the Arduino menu and everything, and so I didn't really want to recreate it because at the time I wasn't into I didn't have a platform or a desire to or a community that I was connected with to share what I made. So I just kind of made the video just to show other family members. Just it was easier for them to see it than come visit at the time. And then so I didn't have the raw materials to like the code to basically reproduce it easily. But since then, I've considered going back and maybe 3D printing the Lakitu, because that's actually hand sculpted. It's like using Sculpey material. I could probably make it a lot easier. I could maybe make a mold of it and cast it to make it more reproducible. I've had a couple people ask for the thwomp castings out of cement, but not to the amount that you would think. I had no people asking for a mural. I would have probably done a mural for somebody, but considering how long it took me, I don't know if they would want me in their house for a year and a half. I don't know. I think a lot of the projects that I do are so weird and so off the wall. They never thought to want one of those things before until I make it. Like, do you want a cement thwomp for your house that has a Raspberry Pi in it? I don't know, but I didn't know I wanted one of those. So I'm sure I do expect a lot of people to be interested in the NES, though. As some of you guys point out in the chat, I think said that, you know, when am I going to start selling these? Because I do think there probably would be a market for them, and I do have some ideas of a way to like streamline it. But this was kind of like just a prototype, proof of concept. I bought several of the little projectors in there. They were on clearance from Brookstone, of all places. They were $15 for a battery-powered HDMI projector. Granted, it was 640 by 480 resolution was the max. Not very good quality-wise, but it was $15.
Yeah.
And so I bought like 4 of them just for various projects. And that was the first project I've used it on. I actually opened it up and hacked the buttons to kind of move them all around so I can access them through different means. I don't know. That's a long-winded answer for a short question. Sorry.
I was going to ask you, following up with that, like, have you, when you've given people, if you've given people a price on doing one of your more elaborate projects, or if somebody asks if you can make something, I know something that a lot of us, people see us 3D printing stuff, or in your case, making let's say the thwomp, all the effort that goes into that. Now you've learned your lessons from past experience, so you can do it faster, more efficient. How do you deal with when somebody asks you how much something would cost for you to do?
It is challenging. I still struggle with that for sure. If it's something like the thwomp where I have the mold and it's like in the process of making it, I came up with a way to easily reproduce it because it has a mold. And I did have a couple castings. I actually did cast a fair number of the cement ones without the electronics in it, to the point where I actually started getting holes in the mold. So that was useful for reproducing it. As long as I have like a means to easily do it, it'll cost a lot less for them, and also time. So like the big issue for me is time, and if I even want to reproduce it as well. Like I don't know if I would even want to do another one of the bookcases, just because it took me so long. Even though I could probably streamline the process, I don't know if I really want to revisit that again, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
sure it paid me enough money. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do another one of those. But
yeah, kind of the mindset. Once you're done with the project, you're done with it, essentially.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I also like kind of the idea for some of these things to be one-offs, in a weird way. Like I have a list of objects that I've never seen exist before, which I know a lot of cosplayers like that that achievement of creating something that was only a digital or like a virtual existing thing, and then make it real for the first time. You know, like a certain prop or a certain costume that was only in a certain TV show that had like limited run, and it was like a certain novelty to bring that thing to life for the first time. And so several of my projects, I kind of look for that as like a guiding characteristic, not exclusively, but I'd never seen anybody make a Mario Kart mural with a Mario Kart hanging from the ceiling before. So that was a huge motivating factor for me to want to do that. And the thwomp thing, I saw a couple people make a cement thwomp for different means, but it didn't have like the weathering and the realistic look, and a Raspberry Pi certainly set it apart. Why would anybody do that? I don't know. But just the novelty of it. Oh, here's one. Here's another project I had sitting here.
Yeah, they were commenting about Yoda in the background.
Okay. So here's Yoda. He's pooping out C batteries right now. Sorry.
How rude.
I know. It literally just fell out and hit me in the foot. Anyways, this was a toy that I bought from Target. Originally, I've got two of them. They were on clearance for like $30, I think, each, and they retailed probably around like 180 or so. I don't remember exactly what the price was. So come to think of it, clearance is a big motivating factor for several of my projects. I didn't realize it until just now. If I can buy several of something really cool for really cheap, I'll do something weird with it. But this one was just an exercise in weathering. So I painted him to look more realistic. All of his skin was a flat green color. He didn't have any actual hair before. I wanted to try hair punching. So his hair was actually painted on. You probably can't see it through the camera, but
You can see a little bit there.
yeah, he's got like his paint or his hair is sculpted into his head, and there was white paint there, but it was very sloppily done. The interesting thing is actually use latex for his skin, so I wanted to kind of take advantage of that and make him look as realistic as possible. His clothes were all one color. They were just like a flat beige with no distressing, no carving or anything like that. And I wanted another material. I never did anything with fabrics before. I never did hair punching. That took me a while. I did this on Twitch stream over the course of a couple months, on and off. I've even got hair coming out of his ears. I don't know if you can see that. And he does come on when I had the batteries in there. He would actually come on as lightsaber would illuminate, and he would talk and walk around. He has like some voice activation functionality that's built in when I bought it. But now he just kind of sits on a shelf looking kind of cool. But I use like some different texturing methods. I actually use like ashes and water to make like a really grungy stain, I guess, for his clothing. But he came out kind of cool.
How'd you get all the holes and stuff in his?
I used some wire brushes, like stiff wire brushes, like for cleaning like grills, and scraped it a lot. Some razor blades, I took some needles. Like I had a hair punching needle for his hair, and I just kind of scraped it in different areas to give like some tears, kind of like women's pantyhose get like a run in them. I did that a couple of spots to get like the thread to come out all scraggly and stuff. As you can see, it's super chewed up there. But I kind of looked at some of his reference images from the Empire Strikes Back and stuff to kind of get an idea of how messed up is too messed up. And it's not exactly like a screen accurate replica, but I think it came out pretty cool. But I also expected some other people to want one of those, so I actually bought a couple of them with the idea of painting them, and no one wanted one, so I just got one. Yeah, you never know. You can't always predict what stuff people would actually want to buy, so I don't really put much effort into that, except for around Christmas time, as you saw, Matt, I think you bought a couple of the ornaments that I was doing.
Yeah, ours are packed away, or I'd go get them.
I've got them in the other room, but I think I've showed off enough stuff. They're Harry Potter themed ornaments, so those are like kind of made to be reproduced. They were on the laser engraver, and they're super easy to knock out. But besides those exceptions, they're usually just one-offs.
Question for you.
Yeah, please.
The skin on Yoda, is that all dry brushing?
Yeah, for the most part. Yep. I had acrylic paints. First, I tried like latex paints because the skin was actually latex.
Mhm.
So I thought I needed something that was going to remain flexible, and I tried that, and it was not working out. So I just used acrylic mixed with isopropyl alcohol instead
Mhm.
of water, so that the alcohol would like evaporate faster, so I could work on the thing quicker instead
Yeah.
of his skin being like wet half the time and like blending in weird ways. And that
Right.
was a technique I kind of discovered with the Thwomp. He's all acrylic painted as well, with all the distressing on him, uh, like all the blacks and other colors. Um, I don't know how well it's coming across in the camera, but like in these little pockets and stuff. Um, that's just using black acrylic and some greens and browns with isopropyl alcohol um, instead of water, because I found it, since it evaporated so quickly, it would be easy to kind of get through several layers and not have to wait for it to dry. Because a lot of times the color of something when you're painting it is a lot darker or different when it's wet than when it's dried. So if
Mhm.
the faster I could get to that dry state, the more accurate it would be as to what it would look like at the end. So I kind
Right.
of,
And you can move on to the next color, the next tone or shade that you need to put on over that and
exactly.
overlap it without it, changing its color.
Yeah.
Very smart.
What other question? Any other questions? Please do. I feel like I'm talking too much.
You're the guest. You're supposed
No, it's all about you, dude. It's the West Show.
I'm looking around now. Like what? Oh, let's see. I've got an X-Carve CNC machine. I can talk about other robots I have that work for me. So I've
Go
got
for it.
3D printers. I've got a A40 laser. I've got an X-Carve that I had lobotomized. It was a first generation X-Carve CNC machine that a friend of mine sent to me. He was upgrading to like something really big, and so this was like several Frankenstein versions kind of thrown together, and it was like partially disassembled and sent to me in like this box of like parts from different like stages of its development. And I'd never put a CNC machine together, and at the time I never built my 3D printer, so I really, the whole concept of gantries and everything was a little bit more foreign to me at the time. And so I get this big box of all these stepper motors and belts and everything, and I'm just like, what the hell am I supposed to do with all this stuff? Like every manual I would look at, it required you, or tutorial required you or expected you to be at a certain prerequisite step. Like you're going from this version of Xcarve to this version of the Xcarve, and it wasn't. It was sort of like a hybrid of a bunch of different versions. So it took me like a month and a half to figure out what the hell I was looking at for the majority of the pieces, but I got it together. It's sitting over here out of the screen, and I also have another video for it. You guys are more than welcome to check it out. But I saw some people controlling the gantry of the Xcarve with a Xbox controller. I thought that was pretty cool to be able to walk up to it and use the Xbox controller to jog it into position to get ready to do your cuts or whatever. And I thought that was neat, but I wanted to do something a little bit different because why not? And so I took an old rock band guitar and used that instead. So I actually like play the frets to move the gantry in the X and Y position, and then I strum up or down, and it makes the Z go up and down. So it's
That's
really
awesome.
ridiculous, but it was a lot of fun. Um,
Is that actually useful?
It is, yeah. Surprisingly, I look like a complete goober putting the strap, with the guitar, the neck strap to play it. And I don't always go through that. Sometimes I'll just hit the button while it's hanging up. I've got it hanging on the wall beside it. But it's surprisingly functional. I'm sure a controller will be a lot more practical. But it was sort of like a proof of concept to prove, you don't have to use the traditional things. It was a tutorial of how to get a controller working with the Xcarve by default, but I wanted to add like an extra little bit of spice in there. I've considered using a DDR pad for the next version because I think that would be kind of cool to get some exercise in while trying to manipulate the gantry around. I picked up a power glove, which is part of my logo. Let me see. I need to get a hat or something with my logo on it so you can see, but this is something a friend of mine made for me. So my logo has a Power Glove in it. I've got a couple projects on the horizon using Power Gloves as controlling mechanisms, but it's also referencing a couple other things. So I was in the U.S. Navy in a couple different aircraft squadrons, and so if you ever see any of the patches for different squadrons in the Navy, they have a similar kind of design with the main graphic on the top and the name on like a ribbon on the bottom. So it's sort of an homage to those designs.
Yeah, that's awesome. I thought that was like an Air Force thing, because the Air Force patches, for the squadrons are around and they have the banners over them.
Exactly.
I like the statement, overkill is underrated.
Yeah. My projects have demonstrated this before I showed that. I find that, if you take the time to put the effort into the details that a lot of people wouldn't bother doing, then that's where your project really gets like another step above.
Well, shoot, I'm impressed.
Oh.
Can we be friends?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you had a hunch I was in the military. Yeah, I was in the Navy for 4 years, from 98 till 02. I was on the USS Enterprise for 7.5 months. That was my longest deployment on the aircraft carrier. What else? I worked on the E2C Hawkeye, which is like a type of aircraft, like air traffic controller for the sky, for the combat theater. So basically, they'll launch one of these airplanes, and it has like a dish on the top, it looks like a flat frisbee attached to the top of the plane. And so the Navy has a smaller version of this that they launch out, and they have like several people working in the back with like their little scope going around, kind of see in the movies where there's like all kinds of targets when everything exciting is happening. So my job was to troubleshoot and repair electronic systems on those airplanes and troubleshoot the radar. And so that's where a lot of my interest in like technical stuff came from. That's when I started building computers for the first time, was in 99, doing more soldering, and, Arduino didn't exist at the time. But that kind of, me working on that stuff now is sort of an extension of my experiences in the Navy. If that makes sense. So I'm sort of, I don't like to have a lot of things that I learn go stale. So like I have like a background in 3D modeling. I was actually wanting to be in the game industry as a 3D modeler or in the special effects industry. So I went to school before I did the making stuff. After I got out of the Navy, I went to school for 3D animation and design. And I tried to get a job for a couple years doing that while doing computer repair stuff, keeping that electronics background. And then I went to, I got hired on at Epic Games for 3 years. So I worked on a couple different Gears of War titles. Worked on the Unreal Engine, Infinity Blade, Bulletstorm. I don't know if any of you guys ever played any of those games. But Epic Games is located in the same town or in the same city that I am in North Carolina, in Cary. And so I actually worked on Fortnite before anyone ever heard of it in the public, before it was ever released, and I never would have expected it to be as popular as it is now. And I guarantee you no one at the time when I worked there expected it to be as popular as it is now. But I worked there from like 2010 2010 to about 2013. And they were working on it when I left. That was the next big project. What school did I go to? So I went to the School of Communication Arts. It was a trade school in North Carolina. At the time when I got out of the Navy, there weren't a lot of places offering like a 3D design curriculum. So one was in North Carolina. There was Full Sail University at the time. That was in Florida. There was a couple things in California and then around in like Vancouver area. But it wasn't as widespread as it is now. So I wanted to get that background, and so I went to that was a small school in North Carolina. They're not particularly good. I wouldn't recommend them. But I got what I needed out of it, and they taught me how to use. I had to spin the GI Bill exactly. One of the guys is commenting in the YouTube chat. Had to spin that GI Bill. They helped with that more than I wished them to. But I ended up going to school after that as well. So I've got some background in 3D modeling, animation, and I still like to use those capabilities and those talents that I accrued over time in the projects that I do now. So that was a natural flow into 3D printing. Like everybody has, all the people with 3D printers, they don't necessarily have a 3D design kind of background, or they're more interested in the output of the 3D printer, not really the data that goes into the printer, if that makes sense. So not that there's anything wrong with that. People enjoy printing stuff off of Thingiverse all day long, but I enjoy the originating portion of it as well. So I got most of my experience in Maya, but I dabble with Fusion 360 now and again.
Maya, when Alias owned it?
Yes, when Alias owned it, exactly. When they were fierce competitors
when it was a good program.
I won't say anything. Alias Wavefront. Yep. Yeah, when they were the direct competitor with 3D Studio Max, and each one kept fighting the other one for dominance in different industries. And
yeah, that was a fun time.
Yep.
That was fun.
So Geeksmithing is basically a combination of all my different backgrounds and interests, and it's like my ultimate excuse to do all the things put together. So I got video editing experience from that one school. I learned like some web page graphic-y kind of stuff there, Photoshop, a little bit of After Effects. So I kind of dabble with website design, not a lot, but just enough to kind of keep that interest going. I don't know. I'm sort of a jack of all trades, master of not too many, but I like to fake it to make it look like I know what I'm doing.
So I have a couple questions for you.
Please shoot.
Since I don't see any more in the chat. So first question is, I've been on an LSD before, which is like a small transport ship. Is that correct? That's correct. Yeah. So I was on an LSD.
The sentence is different for different people. I've been on LSD before.
Okay. Well, no, but maybe. No.
Go ahead.
LSD is a ship in the Navy, and they use it for transport of people and vehicles and stuff like that. I was in the Army, by the way.
Oh, nice.
So I was on one of those. So living on a aircraft carrier, is it like what they say it is? Is it like an actual like city? Like you got green bean and all that good stuff on there. You got like coffee shops and little places to live.
Okay, so before I got on there were all these people telling me, before I actually got on a ship for the first time, they're like, oh yeah, all the new people, they kind of indoctrinate you in the most evil ways. I'm sure the Army has similar practices, but they basically like, oh, welcome, to the ship or whatever. Welcome to the squadron. Oh, they'll give you some money and like, oh, can you please get me this certain kind of drink or cappuccino or something? There's on this certain deck at this, sorry, I'm at this frame number. So like all the ships are kind of, the locations inside have designations to determine like where you are. So like different, kind of like GPS coordinates on a ship, basically. So they give you these coordinates to find like where this certain coffee shop is or vending machine is. So you go off on this wild goose chase and you're like going to look for this. They gave you like $5 or $10. And so you're off trying to run this errand, and everybody else on the ship, as soon as you ask him, hey, where is this one? I forget what the phrase is, but they ask you ask him where this one specific thing is, and they know this is their cue to give you some bullshit to tell you to go somewhere else. So you're basically ricocheting through the ship, getting lost, going down all kinds of corridors you're not supposed to go down. And they know when they give you that $5 or $10 that you're going to be gone for several hours. Like, oh, you have to turn left at the bowling alley and then go down this, da 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 da. And none of this stuff existed at the time. Like, there's no coffee shop, there's no bowling alley. That being said, currently there is a coffee bar on the last ship I went on, but it's not a Starbucks brand. I think they might have had Starbucks imported on board, but back in my day, we didn't have that kind of thing.
When the Navy was the Navy.
Right, that's right. But they, I mean, as far as the floating city, it's as far as like having all your amenities at like a very basic level. Yeah, I would say so. You didn't have much space to yourself. You had usually it was like a triple bunk bed, so it's bunk bed stacked to the ceiling, and you had a curtain that you could draw as you lay on in your rack, as they called it. You pull the curtain shut, and that's all your privacy right there in the whole ship. Was basically, and depending upon which one you get, if you're on the top or bottom or in the middle, you wouldn't be able to sit up. You didn't have enough space to sit up. If you bent your knees would likely touch the top of the ceiling of your like little coffin you're laying in.
Wow.
If you rolled on your shoulders, your shoulder would almost brush the top of the bottom of the person above you, if that makes sense.
Wow. Better not have a bad dream.
Yeah.
Wake up and smack your head.
People would get kicked out for having like night terrors and
Wow.
had like a predisposition to sleepwalking and things like that, because you could actually hurt somebody or get yourself hurt.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that whole place is not somewhere you want to have that happen. And we had a guy that had some sort of night fits or something, and he fell out of his rack and like broke his arm, because you're like 8 feet above the ground at the top rack. You're like, you have to climb out, and he like fell out and broke his arm. He was like thrashing on the ground, still asleep. It was crazy. So we didn't see him anymore. But you had like chow halls in the front and the back of the ship. You had a barber shop. You know, at a certain level, we had a post office. You had what they called a gee dunk, which is Navy slang for like a convenience store. So there's a guy's job, one guy and like two other people who like manage the store. So they would get shipments of snacks and things. They would run out of crap really fast. So I hope you really liked your Doritos, because you're going to wait in line for like 2 hours to possibly get a nacho cheese bag of Doritos, but they may be sold out by the time you get to the front of the line. Like it's they may have those amenities there, but the way you have to get them is not always ideal. Situation. So I wouldn't believe most of the things you hear about all the things that the Navy guys have on the ship. It's either a really watered down version of this awesome thing that you think they have, or it doesn't exist, or if it's not, or it's not like worth the effort to get the thing.
Right.
You get used to getting fed rice and chicken and eggs a lot. They end up using those ingredients in creative ways for different meals. So you'll start off with a breakfast that has your breakfast meat, and some reason they have rice with breakfast there, and then you would have your eggs, and then you would find that same and chicken from the night before, and then they would, like, regurgitate it in a different way for like some sort of casserole for lunch. And once you get that on rep of all your food supplies, you have to make it last, right? So from a technical perspective, I understand. But yeah, it was interesting. I was supposed to be on there for 6 months. We got extended because of 9/11. I was active duty deployed during 9/11, so we're the first carrier to launch an airstrike on Afghanistan, and that was completely nuts. I have a very unique 9/11 story that most people had never heard, just from like, where were you? Everyone has their where were you? Right? But mine, I was on a warship in the middle of, we had just left the Persian Gulf a couple of days before that, and this happened, and it was weird because I felt more a sense of fear for my family back home than I had for myself being on a literal warship with bombs and missiles and stuff. And it was a weird juxtaposition that I never would have expected to have.
That's gotta be weird. I don't even know what else to say. Like,
it was
Weird? Is that the right word? Like, haunting?
Yeah, it was the whole vibe of the ship completely changed. It was like the previous day, people could like high five each other or like play pranks on each other and do all this kind of silly stuff just to stay sane because you're at sea a lot of the time. Like we had just finished a deployment in the Persian Gulf for about 50 days straight of sea time, and it was like super hot there. Very like I think the temperature plus the heat index, it was like 120, 130-ish, something like that. And you're on the flight deck with a complete turtleneck.
Oh yeah.
I was one of the guys with the green turtleneck you might see on like the documentaries. I had a float coat, which is like your life vest. So that's another it's like canvas basically. It's super heavy. I had a helmet on with earmuffs, goggles, full gloves, combat boots, and long pants. And we had Camelback because we had like a water reservoir to not completely pass out. And you're just like sweating the entire time. Like, your shift is probably 12 hours. Yeah, some people had to work below decks in different hot conditions. Like, yeah, it was not ideal, but I would not have traded the experience for anything. Like, I still have friends. I'm sure you, being in the military, you have people probably that you still are in contact with, I would imagine, in some form or fashion.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, much respect for you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Absolutely.
Thank you for serving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
So Wes, since we're about an hour and a half in,
and you've talked enough.
No, you're perfectly fine.
All right, go ahead.
No, so I wanted to give you a chance, since we didn't do it at the beginning necessarily. Plug some of the stuff you're involved in. I know you've got a podcast, you've got YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Where can everybody find you if they want to follow more? Because I'm pretty sure Mr. Butcher wants to see what else you're doing.
So I've got the YouTube channel. I don't post on there as often as I'd like to, but I'm trying to get better. That's always the way it goes. But I post projects on there. I'm more frequently posting on Instagram, like more behind the scenes kind of stuff. So I've dropped a couple hints for the NES inside of NES project I'm working on. You'll see a lot of things from like travel. So I go to Maker Faire in the Bay Area a lot. I've gone for the last 3 years. Go to several different maker meetups. There is the Workbench Con happening like 6 hours from me, but there was some scheduling stuff with my wife. She was out of town. I have 2 kids, so I couldn't go to that. But normally I'm usually involved in, a lot of the maker events, meetups and stuff. There's a Twitch channel that I post some stuff on. I stream on there occasionally. I've got some classic gaming stuff I do on there from time to time. I need to get a better schedule for that so people can actually expect me at a certain time, but I'm just, if you set a notification, you'll see it pop up. I'm on Twitter from time to time. So I have a little bit of a problem with all these different platforms in offering something unique for each one. Like, I find it difficult, but I don't necessarily want to have it the same on every one. I want to have like a interesting value proposition for each one. So I haven't really identified what I would do with the Twitter or Facebook. It's just a different way to advertise, but whatever. What else? I've got a podcast, as you alluded to. It's called the Making Geeks podcast. So it delves into subjects and topics for being a dad, for being a maker, and for being a geek, and trying to find the balance between those 3 things. We've had several people from the maker community, including Joel Telling, on there before. We've had Bob Claggett on there several times. If any other guys are familiar with Izzy Swan, or who else have we had on? We had there's a guy that does duck cartoons on Facebook. You call the Foul Language Comics. Some of you guys might have seen some of his work. If you're a parent, you would love his stuff. We've had him on there. We've had a lot of other kind of not necessarily always makers, but between those three pillars, someone that represents one of those things. We talk a lot about movies and pop culture, video games from time to time. We're all, Star Wars and various Star Trek and Firefly and different things. So we just try to find a balance between making, being a geek and being a dad. Hence the name Making Geeks, because we're geeks who make things and we're also raising them. So we're making geeks in that respect. That's myself and three other people. You can go to makinggeeks.com to find out more about that. And you can just search in your podcast players for those. I think we're on episode like 135, something like that. We've been doing it a couple years. We had our thanks. We had our 100th episode at Bay Area Maker Faire last year. We had a presentation on a stage, which was the first time I had done that, which is super exciting. What else? Oh, I resurrected a local meetup group in the Triangle area of North Carolina. So you've got Chapel Hill, Durham, and Raleigh, which are all kind of clustered together in North Carolina, and they form what's called the Triangle region. It's kind of a hub of, it's kind of like the Silicon Valley of the East Coast in a lot of ways. Like Red Hat is here. You've got ShopBot is here. IBM is headquartered here. There's a lot of tech in kind of biopharmaceutical and kind of smart people here, right? So we have a maker group that was kind of dormant that I've resurrected this year. It's got approaching like 200 people. So it's a similar kind of people that you guys talked with online, but it's just in the little group here. So I'm in the process of doing stuff with them. 3D printers. There's a guy who's into like model rocketry, and not like Estes rockets, but like getting FAA certifications for launching like rockets miles in the air, which is crazy.
That's sweet.
Every sort of making in between. We've got a guy that does like textile stuff. There's a person doing like horticulture, agriculture mixed with Arduino. They're doing like robot farming stuff. I mean, all kinds of things. So I know a lot of you guys aren't in the North Carolina area, but I would recommend you, if you'd like to replicate your experience with cool groups online, there's probably people locally to you that have similar interests. I encourage you to reach out to some of those. And I've held maker meetups at my house before in the past. I think 2 Thanksgivings ago, I think I had like 35 people show up from different places. One guy came as far as Pennsylvania, and a lot of them crashed at my house. My wife and kids, for some reason, left that weekend. I don't know why. We had a lot of fun. Yeah. But I like being involved in the maker community in different ways and trying to expand kind of my contacts. And I found like I know a lot of people from different areas of the maker community. Like I know the person who does all the social media posts for Raspberry Pi. Like I met her one time at Maker Faire. And so like I know a lot of contacts that I try to not like show them my projects, but like try to interact with in more like personable ways and actually get like a relationship with people and kind of get to know them and find out what they're about. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So networking is pretty big for me, even though like at face to face, I'm not like the most social person. Like if I'm at a party, I won't be the person like engaging people in conversation. I'm more likely to be in a corner, like wanting to talk to somebody, like that sad guy in the corner.
Wallflower.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more at home in that. But digitally, I have a better time at a non-live scenario. It's different than this. I can like form my words in a more cohesive way and be more social or have control of my message. You know, I can like edit it and make it perfect. But I'm trying to get out of my break out of my comfort zone and do things a little bit more sociable in a live instance, if that makes sense. So.
John Mack asked in the chat if you have any plans of going to the Midwest Rep Rap Festival in March.
I do not. I know of it. I have not had plans to go there. This year I'm trying to limit it a little bit. So far I just have the Bay Area Maker Faire trip lined up I do have something in like Atlanta in March. I don't know if it's the same weekend. When is the Rep Rap Festival?
Second to last week.
29th, 28th to the 31st.
At the very end.
Yeah.
Possibly
to the
next year.
first.
I'll have to like kind of bookmark it early on to kind of make it financially feasible. So I have Geeksmithing as a business, as an LLC. So I've been trying to work towards that. And so currently at my day job, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I guess I could have led with that when I'm introducing myself, but it didn't really. I have a 8-year-old daughter and a almost 5-year-old son, so he's going to be in kindergarten in the fall. So the idea is to transition to Geeksmithing full time, whatever that form is. It'll probably be like an amalgamation of several different things, like income streams, like doing commissions for people, YouTube stuff, the little bit of Patreon that I have, but kind of the ideal scenario that everybody wants to work towards. I'm one of those people, but I'm also a realist, and I know if that's not going to pan out, and I have some backup plans like in place, but that's my goal.
So you'd like to do like a type of like a startup company and do commissions for people, and then maybe have some stuff that you are selling on your own and whatnot.
Yep. I'm doing the Twitch stream. I have a affiliate status on Twitch, so I can get subscriptions on there and like that sort of thing. So I've got like the digital stuff set up. I just need to put more effort into the specific platforms to make them more self-sustaining. But as of right now, that's my goal.
Heck yeah, go for it, dude. You're incredibly talented, and I believe in you.
Appreciate it.
For sure, definitely.
Hey Wes, something for you to maybe look at. You said your son's going into kindergarten this year,
right?
In October, if you can't go out to Murph, there is the East Coast Rep Rap Festival, which is just above Baltimore, Maryland. October 2nd, I think, is the weekend for that one. Let me double check.
That might be feasible.
October 4th, 5th, and 6th, I think, is the weekend. So just something for you to look at there. It's in Aberdeen, Maryland, which is, depending on the traffic you hit, half an hour to an hour-ish above Baltimore, depending on which way you come. If you decide to come to that one, shoot me a message and let me know, and I'll give you a route that your GPS won't give you to get around Baltimore and Washington. Otherwise, a lot of people, that was their biggest gripe last year. Now it was in June, but a lot of people coming from the south hit Washington, and from there it took them almost as long as the rest of their trip.
Yeah, Washington sucks to drive through.
It does. But yeah, so there's one. I don't know if you've heard of that one. That just last year was the first for that. 2018 was the first year.
Sweet.
That same concept as the Midwest Rep Rap Festival, which I know you'll get to hear about that. I know Josh is coming up, so I'm sure he'll have something to tell you about that.
Yeah.
I had a question, and I keep forgetting about it, and keep putting it off. So you've done a lot of work on things after Nintendo specifically. Have you done anything Disney related at all?
Where's it at? I have actually.
Besides Yoda, obviously. Then now that's
Yoda. I think it's in the other room. So I've got a strange interest in the Disney Afternoon characters. So like the stuff, I don't know if you guys grew up with those, but at the time, but like DuckTales, Gummy Bears, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I actually have several Disney cells in my house. Like I don't put up artwork from other
That's cool
things, but like I'm very selective with things I hang on my wall, but unique actual production pieces like cell artwork from the actual show production. I have several of those. So I'm totally into projects that have that as a subject matter. If any of you guys are familiar with the Gummy Bears series, there was a medallion that the old wise bear wore that has like basically a G on it and like a shape of a one of the bears. So I'm trying to make a medallion replica, and then he has like this giant book that is like a spell book that he opens with the medallion. And so I want to actually do leather working and like book binding, which I've never done before, to make like a spell like tome, like a spell book, and actually have an interface with the medallion, because that wouldn't be complex enough by itself. I wanted to actually open the book because it has like a clasp that opens when he puts the medallion on it, and opens up, and like the words glow. I'm not sure how the hell I'm going to be able to pull that off. Maybe some like UV like reflective or UV triggered light paint, basically. So maybe have like a black light to make the letters glow, or maybe have some other thing. I'm not sure exactly.
What were those little vials that you can get that are?
Oh, the gummy berry juice. What?
No,
I know way too much about it, so I might be showing too much in my hand right now. What?
There's these vials that
real life.
The sounds, they have radioactive material inside of them. It can't escape them.
Well, it's called tritium.
Is that what it?
You can buy tritium.
Tritium
glasses. Yeah.
It glows on its own. No power, no nothing. You might be. They're expensive, but you might be able to look into that.
Yeah, I was going to use that for Nuka-Cola bottles, to make replica Nuka-Cola bottles, make them glow.
Yeah.
Get a Geiger counter while you're at it.
I'll build one. Yeah. Another project idea. Perfect. I've got a couple other things. So if anybody watched DuckTales, he had Uncle Scrooge had his number one dime, which is like the first like dollar that he, how everybody posts their dollar from their business on their wall, like this is the first dollar they ever earned. The first dime he ever earned is his number one dime, and it's in a lot of the episodes. He actually has it like on like a pedestal with like the glass covering on it. I've got the glass covering. I've got a couple of the models. I've got the model made. I made it in ArtCam, which is like a 3D modeling software used for CNC machining primarily, but you can also use it to produce models for 3D printing. And so these are all projects that I've yet to complete, which is like the majority of my projects. Most of them are in like some sort of state of progress, which is part of my problem. But I've got a nice dry erase board with them prioritized that you can't see. Maybe you can see a little bit of it right here off screen. I don't know how much you can see, but I've got that one to do. I've got a Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers themed project on the books. So yeah, I've got some Disney stuff lined up, if that answers your question.
Sweet.
Have you, with all the Nintendo stuff that you've done, have you ever had any interactions with Nintendo?
A little bit. I know that they know. Well, I don't know that I'm not like exactly on a first name basis with them, but I had a person that worked for them send me a screenshot of their internal email at the time a Mario Kart Nursery thing blew up, and apparently they have like a community stuff, like community or fan spotlight section of their like weekly email blast, and it was in there, which was cool. They like retweeted a post that someone else, like some other news organization did, and that was as much like publicity as got from Nintendo, like acknowledging my project. And that was always like my goal, like, my ultimate goal is if they, see the stuff that I make. And they actually had the Nintendo Labo come out last year, and they sponsored a huge portion of Maker Faire in the Bay Area. So they had a big tent there, and I actually went in there and talked to a guy that is one of the people at Nintendo of America. I talked to him probably like an hour. You're only supposed to be in there for like 15 minutes. I was like talking to him for like an hour, and I brought up my Thwomp project and showed him pictures. He's like saying how he had seen that and stuff. So they know of some of the stuff I make. And luckily the lawyers don't have a problem with the stuff that I make because I don't try to sell it, which could be another reason I like to do the one-offs on a lot of these things, because their ninja team of lawyers are not very friendly for creators all the time. So
that's what I was kind of curious if you've had any legal interaction or notice from them or anything like that with any of your projects.
No, the only other weird thing is that the Mario Kart project, because it used Mario Kart music, I had to register it in a program that Nintendo ran to basically revenue share with them.
Oh.
So the way they used to work is you might have heard it in the past that they were super strict about streamers and other people posting clips of their content of their video games on YouTube and like monetizing it. That's where they would like jump on you or like outright ban you or get you kicked off or copyright strikes or whatever. So they had this system where you could register your PayPal and your Google account and your channel, and you could like highlight different videos that has Nintendo IP in it, and basically you would get like 60% of the revenue of the video. So they wouldn't completely take it. It was actually pretty cool that they would actually give you anything, to be honest. Yeah. They've since ended that program, and they've gotten more flexible over in the last like 3 months. I think they ended it. But that was sort of like I didn't have any conversations with anybody, but that was sort of like an interesting asterisk in the Nintendo conversation in terms of like legality of the stuff that I do and their acknowledgement. So it's cool. They actually had a program that people could, like an avenue that you could like navigate through to stay on the good side of Nintendo.
Yeah.
Bowser's lawyers, as it were.
That was the reason I asked, because
Mm-hmm.
when you hear about heavy-handed takedowns, Disney and Nintendo are the two biggest ones out there that you hear about. So that's actually kind of cool that they're opening up more and more to fan art, so to speak. Just checking the chat here, see if we had any other questions. Talking about how to get around Baltimore. I think that's it. Sean and Mitch, do you guys have any questions for Wes?
No, I think all the stuff you do is really cool.
Thanks.
So you said you use Fusion 360 for some of your designs?
A little bit.
Okay. So that's not like your main modeling program.
I want it to be my my going steady 3D modeling software, but it's such a different workflow and different thought process to model stuff in there versus Maya, like where you start with the box and you polygonal modeling. That I'll get to doing something in Fusion and I'll get super frustrated. Why is it not working this way? Why is it doing this? And I'll just like get frustrated and put it aside and just do it in Maya because I'm like, I can do this so much faster in Maya.
Yeah.
But I know that that's not helping me learn, new software. But I'm at the age, and I'll admit this, like I'm getting to be a curmudgeon for a lot of things. And like the old guy, they don't make them like they used to. These software, this whippersnapper software can't do the blah blah blah. And so I'm trying to force myself to use Fusion more, but I end up still falling back to Maya a lot of times. Like I modeled, what was my most recent thing? I modeled a Voltron, one of the red lion. I'm modeling his head, and I started in Fusion, and I was just like beating my head against the wall, trying to do something that takes me 5 seconds in Maya. So I was like, all right, I jumped into Maya. Granted, I spent many hours in Maya working on this, but it was so much more of an enjoyable experience for me. But I do tend to go to Fusion for more tool kind of stuff, not as much like organic modeling.
That's what it's for, because Maya is more freeform. Maya is freeform modeling, and then Fusion is more CAD, engineering modeling. And
granted,
so
they have like the patchwork space or whatever they call it, so there's a little bit more similarity with the sculpty kind of stuff. But
yeah.
But
then you get your hotkeys get all mixed up, and you're like, well, I can't do that, and I can't just like turn this and push that in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, all the range of people that we've had on the streams that we've asked, what software do you use for modeling or for this or for that? Everybody always has, I try to use this. Like everybody wants, it really seems like everybody wants to use Fusion because that seems to be, at least in our community, the popular piece of software. or
Because
kind of
it's free.
end all be all almost.
Yeah.
What's that?
Being free helps.
Yeah, that definitely helps. But everybody always says, you know, if you had any kind of background, like you've used Maya, that they always fall back to the one they use.
Yeah.
I finally had that realization this week. I was making a form to boil popsicle sticks and then put them in a 3D printed form to shape them so they dry out that way.
Yep.
My
So-
dog.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, you know, I use Tinkercad for everything, and I use Tinkercad. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to have my daughter do this in Tinkercad. I ended up about 5 minutes into it. I'm like, screw it, I can do this in Fusion. I don't know how to do Tinkercad.
I've actually said on a backpack printer too. It was so much easier for me to import an existing model into Tinkercad, an existing STL in the Tinkercad. You saw earlier I was trying to get dimensions off of an STL because you pretty much have to remodel it if you're trying to import an STL in the Fusion. So
Yeah.
like if you don't have a step file from Thingiverse, like it's so much easier to go to Tinkercad, chop off half of it, add a block, you know, to whatever you're trying to mount it to. Like I can work way faster in Tinkercad, but then I go back and I hate myself because I can't change anything really easily.
Yeah.
You know, I can't go and make a parametric. So in this design I'm right now, I don't know the exact dimensions of my batteries, but or my components, so I'm making it so that I can go back and edit my sketches and make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. But I could have made this in Tinkercad in probably less time than I made it in Fusion. So yeah, it's like I'm a big fan of Tinkercad.
The thing is, people don't understand is each program is designed for a different thing. So it's like a tool, your toolbox. You know, you got a screwdriver, and then you got a hacksaw, and then you got, whatever. And each program is designed to do something different. So you can take a CAD model, bring it into, let's say, Maya or whatever, a freeform modeling program, and you can add details and add shape and form to it, and then bring it back into a CAD model and then resize it or whatever you need to do, add more structural parts to it, and then bring it into ZBrush, something that's like clay modeling, and then add even finer detail and redevelop your model, and then finally export it or bring it back into whatever CATIA or whatever surface modeling program. Like everything is made for something different. Right. So you can take it through all those steps and then come out with something, amazing. Or instead of learning all that, you can just learn your one program that you know how to do like super well and try to get that into there, into the aspect that you want it to be.
I do think Mesh Mixer should be on everybody's toolbox because that's sometimes my go-to for. Especially when I'm doing commissions for projects, because
I'm kind of like Wes in reverse because I'm trying to learn the organic side of things, and I've gotten to that point with Fusion where I feel like, I can. The other day I modeled a door handle for my front door because I broke the handle off the front door. Instead of going and spending $30, I spent 5 minutes in Fusion, modeled a organic looking door handle.
Yeah, there you go.
But yet, I go into ZBrush and I'm like, I have no freaking clue.
Yeah, they also have sheet metal stuff, which I'm really fascinated by because sheet metal folding and unfolding is that seems like a witchcraft. But it's true. It's it would be so cool, cause especially for me, because I have. I work with CNC machines all day, so to be able to plasma cut or water jet a part out of aluminum or steel, and then be able to fold it up into an object that's useful quickly, and then be able to export the 2D profile directly from Fusion to cut. It's really amazing. So I mean, I did that with the last backpack printer. I export the DXFs to laser cut some of the parts. I also used it to CNC cut parts out of wood, and then I also 3D printed all the parts. Everything was from Fusion, from the same model. So, like that's what I like the most about Fusion is it's like a full digital fabrication thing. But if you're gonna do organic modeling just to 3D print it, yeah, like I wouldn't even bother.
Yeah. Then you can be like Carl, Mac 3D Designs in the chat, who designed an entire belt 3D printer in 3D Builder on Windows.
Don't be like
really? No, really?
Yeah, that belt printer.
Hold on.
That
You
I
got
live
a link to that?
on Sunday. Not yet. It'll be at Murph. The printer's built.
Okay. I gotta see this.
If you watch the, if you look at the Printed Solid posts on Twitter, they show it.
Yep.
At their meetup.
Well, I heard about a belt printer. I just didn't know. I didn't know it was done in 3D filter.
Yeah. I live streamed that from Printed Solid. So there's most of it. I caught missed the very beginning. But yeah, he did everything in 3D Builder. So
wow,
that's crazy.
For that,
I'm wondering if there's any rep wraps that are like successful rep wraps that actually be made out of Tinkercad.
That'd be interesting.
I mean, a preset design might not be too difficult, but you can actually reach your limit of you definitely can reach your modeling limit on Tinkercad. I've done that before, like the amount of polygons it'll let you have. So
I'll tell you what, we're 10 minutes from the 2-hour mark. Why don't we run through quick and do outros, and then if we want to keep going, I know we're keeping Wes up, so it's up to him if he wants to stick around or not. And
I'm definitely. Someone asked earlier, like, when do I sleep? I don't. I usually stay up till like 1:30 at night on a daily basis. I get up at 7.
The life of a creator.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead, Mitch. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, right now I'm somewhere in Louisiana. Normally I'm in the Dallas area, but yeah. So I'm Mitch 3D on Twitter. I'm the Mitch 22 because I don't want to create another account, and I think I'm on Instagram. I was gonna say Bebo, but that doesn't exist anymore. No. What's the other social media site? Oh yeah, YouTube. So under YouTube, I'm Mitch 3D. I've actually streamed. I'm usually streaming because I find it's a lot easier, but I'm trying to be more consistent with streaming. I'm also on Twitch under Mitch 22. And I'm trying to switch to Twitch because I like that platform better. But yeah, I'll probably be posting a lot more content about this backpack printer build. And I did a pretty good job right now. I've made a battery cartridge box so that all the batteries will slot into these slots here with these little end caps here. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the Mitch 22 on everything or Mitch 3D. And then there's Mitch3D.com, but I'm working on getting a Squarespace website set up so that I actually have something presentable for Murph. And then hopefully I'll get stickers, but I think I'm too late.
Stickers. I'm all about stickers.
Yeah, if we can get stickers by Murph, though, I think I'd rather give out stickers than maker coins because that takes a lot of time.
Yep. So. Yep. When I was in New York, I sticker slapped everything.
Yeah. Stickers are way more cool.
Oh yeah, there it is. That's the stuff.
Yeah, so I got stickers. All this white right here, the super badly lit. That's all stickers and stickers. So if you have stickers for a maker shop or whatever, hit me up. I'll trade you.
I gotta do that.
Yeah, I gotta get one of your stickers or like 10 of them.
Sure.
I like what a lot of YouTubers do, where they, like Joel's kind of started it with, send me money, send me a just self-addressed stamp envelope, and then donate the money to charity. I think that's a great idea.
That's cool.
So I think more people should do that.
Yeah, stickers make the world go round, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Everybody
sees stickers.
Let's move over to Sean.
Hello, my name is Sean. I work at IC3D. I am an extrusion line operator. I make filament. I'm also their community manager, so I interact with everybody that I pretty much interact with every day, regardless. Um, and yeah, so that's what I do. And I have my own stuff. If you want to see what I'm doing personally, my own personal stuff, it's, of course, you got to play that. All right, so I have a YouTube channel, Sean Anigans or Art Mods, and I have, oh Jesus, you got me flustered. I'm all red. So yeah, so then I also have a Twitter channel or Twitter account. It's artmods_. And I used to do a lot of PC modding, and I'm going to be getting back into that soon. So look out for that. Currently, I'll show you what I'm doing right now. Oh, there that goes. Watch out, kitty. Don't get hit with metal.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I'm doing a... Oh, Jesus. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the pub mics are the worst.
Okay. So I'm doing a Printerbot Simple Metal. That is a World War II airborne
That's super cool
build. It's a mod. So got a Bontac, and then I got the gold E3D V6 on it. It looked brassish, so I picked that to use. Purely for aesthetics, it has no advantage over anything, but purely aesthetical build. This actually, all the net and everything is real from World War II, and I felt very guilty cutting it up, but I think it is going towards a good cause. This is kind of my memorial to Airborne Brothers and whatever. So I did all that. There's, I don't know if you can see the base, there's sand on it. So the helmets had sand and it was painted over and all that for camouflage historically. So I did that on the sides. And then the bed, it's got my logo and whatnot, but I'm going to be switching it out. I'll be having two beds. This one's not heated. I'll have a heated bed for when I use it. And this one will be purely for shows and display and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'll be working on that. The bottom, the base is going to be having, cat, get off my laptop. Thank you, Bubba. Oh gosh, what did you do? So the base underneath of it. So I'm going to have a full power supply and a new board, thanks to Mitch. We're going to be trading for that. Yeah. Hey, dude, move your butt.
Cat butt.
Sorry. He's very rude. So the bottom is actually going to be all 3D printed out of ColorFab brass and copper. Or I'm sorry, brass and what's the other one I ordered? Not copper, bronze. Brass and bronze. So it's going to have bronze or brass 50 cal bullets on it, and then it's going to have brass paratroopers coming out of the sky, the C-47, and then the bronze is going to be the base behind it, which is all going to be like dirt and rubble and stuff like that. And so that's going to be coming down cascading from the bottom, and it's going to hold all the electronics underneath of that. And the top is going to be a maroon beret on top to hold these together.
Wow.
So that's the plan for that. It's almost done. It's taken a year to do, and I've been neglecting PC modding, unfortunately, which is my passion. I love doing that. So I've been working on this, and this means a lot to me personally, and I think it might turn out nice. So
awesome.
if you want to see more on that, watch. You can watch my YouTube channel or follow me on Twitter or Instagram.
And if you want to see the rest of
Bert's gonna like that.
the it's on his YouTube channel.
Wait, right now, don't look at my YouTube channel because I gotta take that video down.
No, you don't.
Great. I got all the gifts that I needed from that. So
Oh my gosh, I know. I gotta get Wesker to make me a model of the vest and the gun.
There you go.
That'd be cool.
I think that would be fun.
And Wes, one more time.
You can find me on pretty much all the social media platforms under Geeksmithing. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. I would like to say ICQ, but that's not a thing anymore. Let's see.
You still remember your ICQ number?
101-333-62. No,
I don't remember it all.
I don't remember mine at all.
Yeah, so I post wacky things on all those platforms. I also have a website, geeksmithing.com. What a surprise. Yeah, hit me up on any of those platforms if you want to send me a message or show me what you're working on. I'd love to interact with any of you guys. Definitely thanks for having me on here. It's been a lot of fun.
And that brings it back to me. I'm Matt from How I Do It. Also organize the Friday night hangouts with the assistance of Chris Pileski, and Martin, 3D Printed Iceland, manages the European streams and organizes those. The next EU stream for the Friday night hangout is next Friday, March 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern, 20 UTC. They're going to be talking about post-processing prints. So lots of sanding and some primer and a lot more sanding. They're going to be talking about different techniques with FDM and resin printing for finishing your print after it's printed. The next US stream is on March 8th at 10 p.m. Eastern. That is going to be, we have a couple of guests coming on for that one. It's 3D printing for profit. It's been requested that we revisit that topic again. So we're going to have Lauren from A Buzz Designs, Vicky Soma from T-Gull 3D, Scott the Arcania. He has hit, I believe it's over 6,000 sales on Etsy. And there's somebody else. I apologize. I'm forgetting. Somebody else. And I'm sure we may end up adding a few people to that lineup. I apologize to whoever it is I'm forgetting, but I know there's somebody else on that list. That's March 8th, 10 p.m. Eastern. All the Friday night 3D printing hangout streams you can find youtube.com/Friday 3D printing community hangout, or to make life simpler, f3dpch.com and twitter.com/f3dpch. We'd like to thank everybody for joining us again tonight, and like to say thank you to Wes for being our guest tonight. I know Wes does more that's not necessarily 3D printing related and just bits and pieces of a lot of projects that are 3D printing related. But Wes is, he didn't say it himself, but Wes is a huge supporter of the maker community in general. And he did kind of hint to it a little bit that, you know, he knows people from all different parts of the maker community: woodworkers, metalworkers, artists, 3D printers. I'm pretty sure, from what I know of Wes, if you name a category of the maker community, Wes probably knows somebody who's in it, and is a huge supporter of everybody. So it's been an honor to have you come on, Wes, and be able to maybe give you some exposure to more of the 3D printing community who may or may not have heard of your channel. I'm sure after the Mario Kart bedroom, pretty sure you probably got a few more subs if you didn't have them already.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's been fun.
Absolutely. All right. With that said, Wes, do you need to get going? Do you want to hang out? Usually 2 hour mark, topics open. We talk about whatever you guys feel like talking about, or we end it if nobody wants to talk anymore.
I'm good if you guys are good. I'm always game.
Sean.
Yes.
how much more do you have to do for your printer bot? You're trying to get that all done by the end of March, right?
So yeah, I'm trying to get this done by by Murph, because I don't know if old boy's going to be there. But I showed him it at Earth, and he was all about it. And he was like, "I need to see that finished." And so I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be there or not, because of everything that happened with him closing the company, and so I don't know what his funds or plans are. Family's more important than anything, and I know he has a family, so you never know. But I would like to get it done. So what I need to do is get all the electronics done for it, print a couple parts for it, and then the bottom, if you can imagine it, it's gonna. So the printer bot's kind of without the bed. It's really thin. So I did some leather work up here and behind it. Nothing crazy, just some pieces of hide on there. And so this is all going to cascade down. So it's going to come down like a triangle. And it's going to be like a mound of dirt. And then it's just going to have some imagery on it. On one side, it's probably going to have the C-47 with the paratroopers dropping out the back. And then the 50 cal rounds coming out of it on each side. And then on the other side is going to have probably the World War II memorial. And it's all going to be in bronze, like it's a bronze casting or a bronze sculpture that somebody did. And then obviously the accents of the brass to go with that, to kind of accent that. So I got to do that, and then I got to print the beret for the top, and then the LCD screen is going to be coming out the side here. So it's going to be in that mound. And then the cover of that is going to have the jump wings and then maybe a little saying underneath or something nice like that. So it's basically a memorial just to make myself sad every time I print something.
It's really cool.
But yeah, so then I'm going to have a 40 millimeter fan on this side with some type of cover on it. I'm going to mod the fan. I'm going to pull it apart. I might try to get it milled. I don't know anybody that has a CNC machine, but I kind of want to do a milled fan, just to make it metal and to make it look like it fits in with everything else. And I think that'd be pretty neat to do. So I'll do a 40 millimeter fan on the side and then a duct coming down. Still got to print the mount for the Bondtech and everything. Which is going to be complicated to do, just because there's no connections anywhere for it, if you can see.
Yeah.
So I got to come up with something for that. Other than that, it's pretty much done. I need to dust it off because it's got cat hair on it. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty much done. Cool. The bottom's hollow, so I got a lot to work with.
Some little dog tags to hang on it somewhere.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about that.
Or a toothbrush, like in the netting, or a pair.
Bar soap.
Cards. Or yeah. Uh-huh.
I was actually originally, I was thinking about doing like a pack of Lucky Strikes.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool, but to keep it a little family friendly, because I know people are weird about smoking and respecting. Yeah, I don't want it to make it seem, I don't know. People are wimpy these days, so you got to cater to that.
Hey, Sean, Dave had a good suggestion in the chat. If you can't find a metal fan, maybe using a metallic spray paint, like the chrome paints and stuff.
Yeah.
On a plastic fan.
That's a good idea. I do have some chrome paint. I can throw through the airbrush and airbrush it, but yeah, I'd like to get it milled though, just because it is what it is. I want to go all out and be over the top with it. Yeah. And everything on here is real. Like the netting, all the camo net, everything, all that stuff is real. The stencil I used on it is actually, I don't want to say it's a real stencil because it's not of it's not dated. It's not stamped from the time, but it was made the same way. Somebody did it by hand, and I'm trying to keep everything natural. If worst comes to worst, Dave, absolutely, that's what I'm gonna do.
Do you know the dimensions of the fan that you're gonna put on there?
Yeah, I do have the dimensions of it. Absolutely.
I got some ideas.
Okay.
There you go.
we can talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really just want to keep it natural. I want it to be. I don't want to cheap out on this because it is a memorial, and my respect for it is above. Above any monetary amounts of anything. So yeah, I want to keep it all real. I don't want to fake anything.
You know what? And maybe this is where Wes was going with it. I wonder if you could laser cut the fan and then twist the blades to the pitch that you would need. Like I have now it's on a much bigger scale, but doing HVAC work, I have a pitch gauge so that like when fan blades get hit snow and ice or something like that and get all screwed up,
yeah,
you can put them back to the angle that they're supposed to be at.
Oh.
Which you could probably 3D print a smaller pitch gauge that would get you at least close to accurate. But you could do the cut. As you were talking, I was just kind of Googling metal 40 millimeter fans, and I found one looks like the old floor pedestal fans that had big blades on it. I saw that and I was like, oh, that idea popped in my head right away. You might be able to get one lasered. I know, Travis has that nice big laser at work, fiber laser.
That's true.
Might be able to get something like that.
That's a good idea.
What else is everybody working on? Mitch is working on his backpack printer.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at power requirements for the Duet and looking at step-down transformers. So, not transformers, regulators. So actually right now I have a step-down regulator that takes my battery pack, which is like anywhere from 15 to 16 volts, converts it down to 12 volts because I was using the Rambo Mini, and the Rambo Mini apparently will blow the regulator, the 5-volt regulator side, if you put too much power on it. But I'm not sure if the Duet would as well. And I think there's a little bit of a power loss using this step-down to get it to 12 volts. So I'm not sure if I could just run it directly off battery power or use the regulator. But it worked last time, so I'm going to try it again. But this time with 3 batteries instead of 2. So I will have 1,500 basically 15 amp hours of battery power for this printer, and I'm not using a heated bed. So my goal is to be able to print the entire day of Murph, or at least 8 hours, without having to have the batteries go dead.
What about doubling up your voltage regulators? Put 2 of them in instead of 1.
Oh, you mean to make it more efficient?
Yeah, well, it would be less efficient because you'd have the voltage loss from both of them.
Yeah.
More consistent output if you paralleled the 2 of them.
The output actually was pretty consistent with this one. That was actually pretty impressive.
Oh, yep.
But I mean, I actually didn't measure the output of the regulator, but I also had a 5-volt regulator to power the Raspberry Pi that was in it. But I'm actually considering, since I don't really want to have to buy anything else for this, I was going to mount a GoPro to this to watch behind me. Mainly to watch my print, because I can't see the print when it's on me. So I was going to have a GoPro and then use the wireless functionality as a GoPro on my phone.
Dave said the Duet has a jumper on it to completely separate the 5-volt rail from the power supply. He said it's a weird power setup, so there you go.
So I could run it separately on a separate 5-volt regulator. That might actually make it more efficient, because then I could just run the battery directly and have a separate 5-volt regulator, which I already have. So either way, I need to shove that in this little box I basically made enough room that I could put a circuit board and a couple wires in here, and ideally everything is already handled like in here, and then the 12 volts goes directly into the printer, so I don't have to do a lot of work. But I can run a 5-volt line.
Nice.
But yeah, the problem is right now it's just getting everything ordered from Amazon, being home long enough to be able to print this stuff and then prototype it and not be sent out for work again. So I mean, for Murph, like I said, I might even just have a box of printer parts and just build it along there. But
well, let me know if you need me to print anything for you. You're coming this way anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I'll be there. I'm probably gonna be working on it at the ICZ 3D thing.
That's fine. We got space. You can do that.
Yeah. Okay.
You can.
I mean, you got printers, so I'm imagining you can print stuff.
Yeah, if they're not taken up right now, it's like
I could probably print the whole frame for this backpack printer with one of your printers because it's so big.
Yeah.
And with the volcano stuff. But yeah, the slice engineering, the mosquito hot end stuff. I know we had the catch-up, community catch-up, and like those guys are really onto something. I totally want to use mosquito hot ends more if I can. They seem really interesting. Although they definitely have like really tight tolerances, so and no Teflon tubes, so like you really have to be careful about your filament, as far as I know. But
yeah, mine jammed. Mine jammed. Well, that's my fault because I thought I was printing ABS and I was printing PLA, and I didn't watch the first layer.
You jammed it totally, yeah. Well, it's cool. At least they sell the heat break and the block, and like so you can replace every part on the mosquito hot instead of ruining
they sell all the different parts.
Yeah, you could take the hot end apart.
Well, yeah, I didn't know they sold different. I'm gonna have to contact.
Yeah, they sell the heat break. The other night, I asked them a question. I said, "Can you convert a regular mosquito to a Magnum mosquito?" And yeah, all you have to do is just change the heat break.
Oh.
So, and put that there's a ceramic insulator that goes over it too.
Yeah.
But for my purposes, like I was just impressed because he showed me a sample that was 0.4 millimeter retraction on a Bowden setup that was doing a Verneuil print without stringing, and that was pretty impressive. So
that's pretty sweet.
But the Bondtech extruder also makes a big difference too, having the precision for that. So I mean, I've never used any of those yet. So like this is my test platform on my backpack, and then probably the Artemis in the future. Not that CME-CNC doesn't have a good extruder or hot end, but significantly more expensive.
Yeah.
Sean, your cat wants to know why the heat bed's not on the Prusa.
Yeah.
Because you're not on it. He does. So quick story. When I first got the Prusa, I'd run print overnight and I'd wake up in the morning and it would be on the floor and it'd be failed and there'd be spaghetti everywhere. And I'm like, what is happening? Every time I go to bed, I'm like, why is this thing failing? And I was getting very, very frustrated because I had some prints that I just needed to finish and I waste so much filament on it. And one night I'm like, all right, I'm going to stay up and watch this. So I'm sitting on the couch, which is directly in front of me. So my apartment's like split up into like workspace and living area. So I'm sitting on the couch and I look over and it's probably 4 a.m. and I go to look over to check on it. And there's my cat on there and he swipes the dang print and he's like batting at it and he swipes it right off the bed. And I'm like, you little jerk. Like, you're the one that's failing my prints. I thought it was my printer. So, yeah. Yep, that's my cat. Always wanted to play.
I'd like to see an Octoprint time lapse of that, where you just see the cat paw go in there and like you're reviewing the footage, you're like, what the hell?
Yes, I need to do that because now I take a half. I have half of a box that I cut out, so it's got 3 sides. Or I guess it's like more than half, but it's got 3 sides, and I'll put it over it.
Cat force field.
Yeah, like a force field. And I'm like, man, this is a bad idea because he's gonna think it's a box. He's gonna try and jump in it. I'm like, this is a bad idea. So then I put a piece on over the top so he can't get in it. So I have to do that if I do overnight prints, which I haven't done in a while. But
That's a legit use for an enclosure, though.
true.
Cat proofing.
That's the reason a lot of people get enclosures. It's not so they can print it.
I know. I need to invest in some printed solid enclosures.
Yeah, those are cool.
Did you get your Prusa put back together?
Almost.
Almost. Now, what did you bring?
It's been a long week. Been a long couple weeks. So, I come home. I've been coming home and pretty much going straight to bed after work. So,
Did the parts that I printed for you at least all work out?
Yeah, dude. Tolerance is spot on. Everything looks great. You did a fantastic job.
I'm telling you, if I want to print something that I don't physically have it to compare, that Flash Forge is the freaking go-to.
Dude, it looks great. And thank you again for doing that. I really appreciate.
What did you print it with?
Okay, I call it a Flash Forge Dreamer. It's actually a Power Spec Ultra, which is the Flash Forge Dreamer hardware in the Flash Forge Creator box. The only difference when you look at it, you'd think it's a Creator Pro 2, I guess. Except for the display. It's got the touch display that's on the Dreamer instead of the arrow pad that the Flash Forge creators had. But it's got the Dreamer board, so it's 32-bit. That thing from day one when I've got it, it's just been a freaking amazing printer. It is the best one. I mean, I use my CR10s for like damn near everything, but that printer is my go-to if I want something dead nuts tolerant.
But these are the prints that Matt did for me. So so this is, I mean, it's not a bad printer. That printer is what came after the what did we have?
The replicator, right?
MakerBot.
Replicator 2.
It might have been the Replicator or the Replicator 2.
Yeah.
So we started with that, and then it was the Flash Forge, and we still have, well, I think we might have got rid of them all, but we gave one to Luke, who works for us, and he does just amazing prints on them. Like, they're great little printers. I mean, if you just want to start off, there's nothing really wrong with them. I mean,
the Dremels too. The Dremels are pretty. I mean, Dremels are rebranded too, but
yeah. But these are the prints that came off of Matt's. I don't know if you can see that.
That looks like the Prusa ones, basically.
But yeah, it's Carbon Fiber Pet G by Atomic.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Printed solid,
that a lot.
Awesome. Or bought through Printed Solid. And I mean, the prints are very nice, and they're all within tolerances. I mean, it's fantastic. It all snaps together super nicely, tight.
Even when the failed prints that I had because of filament stupidity on the user side of things, even those that are like 3/4 printed snap together still. And they're failed.
It's crazy.
Coolest part about that printer, like, it's a Flash Forge. It is a Flash Forge. It's made by Flash Forge. It's $800 brand new versus Flash Forge 12 or 1300
and Micro Center and something.
Yep. Yeah, it's Micro Center's house brand.
Yeah.
It's
there's
just
a lot. There's also returned ones that you can probably get cheaper. Like, look.
Yeah, you can. Although I'll say this: if it is a printer that if you're going to buy it used or returned, an open box, I would look it over very closely because it is an easy printer to screw up. The tolerances between the dual extruders and stuff on there, you can cram some filament in places filament doesn't belong.
I feel like you one of the mods would be to remove the second extruder. Like,
no,
to make
I have my second extruder printing just as good as any dual extrusion you've seen.
Oh, okay.
I've got some tricks to it, but
It's a Mark 10, right? So it's kind of a weird setup for a Honda.
Yeah, that's the only weird part is, well, I mean, I shouldn't say that's weird. I mean, the Wanhouse are all Mark 10.
Yeah.
But it's a Mark 10 extruder instead of Mark 8.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have heat creep or something, it's going to be hard. You have to take the whole thing apart, basically.
Yeah, you disassemble the whole friggin' thing. Like when I did the all metal upgrade, that was an ordeal. I mean, that took me like 2 days to do it, and then I didn't do it right. I had the heat brakes up too far, and I was getting heat creep, and that was a miserable problem. But ever since I got it straightened out, the thing's great.
Also, how do you get around the Sailfish firmware? Do you use Simplify 3D output?
Simplify 3D, that's actually, that printer is the reason I bought Simplify 3D.
Because of the X3G or whatever it's called.
Yeah, now I had Slicer a year ago. Prusso Edition Slicer I had working on it. Don't ask me how, because I still don't know to this day how I managed to make it work, because I can't figure it out again. But that printer, it's X3G files, but they have the .g, like what Simplify 3D spits out is the .g code file. There is no X3G file. It's one file. It's a G code file. But like if I go select something with Cura, it'll start, it'll heat up, it'll move to the home position, and it'll just sit there. It won't go any further. It won't listen to the G28 coming out of Cura.
So yeah, I'd imagine it's just a different set of G code, but
it is.
I mean, why can't you just rename your G code file .x3G and make it proprietary?
That's what I did coming out of Cura, thinking maybe that was the problem. There's nothing, when you look at the file, the G code is the same G code. There's some commands that Marlin listens to that this one doesn't.
Yeah.
The essential G code is the same. It's a cool printer. Never been upset that I bought that thing.
Yeah, there's no bed leveling. It's just manual bed leveling, right?
All my printers are, even my very first printer, my Delta, right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It came with auto bed leveling, and I removed it within a few hours of building it. And put springs into the bed and manually level the bed on that too.
You're pretty hardcore.
I haven't found. I said today on Twitter, somebody came back and commented on an older tweet conversation, a whole thread of conversation about ABL, and I came back today. I said I have yet to find ABL that I actually like.
On Delta printers, it's useful because the bed is all relative to.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're physically having to raise the Z up and down. So the Deltas can barely print in any direction.
You say that, but I actually, when I first took that off my Delta, I did my bed leveling through the firmware. I did flash
the tower offsets and curvature and stuff. Yeah, it's just a pain, but once you do, like, as long as you don't move the printer, it's fine.
Yeah.
But on my backpack printer, that's the Aris had that issue where the Aris auto leveling didn't really work that well, and so now I'm using the duet effector to do auto leveling, mesh bed leveling. But I'm probably gonna have to do it while it's sitting down on a table, and then move the printer. But I'm hoping the bed doesn't shift as I'm moving. So I haven't figured that one out yet. Maybe I can have it auto level while it's on my back, so it, like, adjust for shift. That's what I'm hoping for. So I can actually do probing like while it's on my back.
What are you doing for the filament holder? The filament?
No, I haven't thought about that yet. And that's probably gonna be an afterthought.
Do you know if you're going to do it above or below or on the side?
So my original one used a spool holder vertically mounted or horizontally mounted underneath the frame, the shelf on the frame, and that was near my butt. So let's see if I can find it, because it was really cool. It was my first like really good thing that I made in Fusion that took like 20 minutes, and it was pretty awesome. This one, right? Yeah, this one. Let me open it in Fusion. Anyway, this was the first thing I did with threads, and it was really cool because it had 3 requirements. It had to have the hole in the center for the fan, because the fan was actually directly below this. So the bottom of the printer had a fan, and I had to have intake air. So the spool holder had to be hollow in the center. The two parts had to thread into each other. So this is so the threads actually are modeled threads that I made with a looser tolerance so that they would print really easily. And I printed both of these parts on the Prusa. And then I broke one of the parts at IRF, and Walter actually printed the replacement part for me, like the first day. So it was pretty neat. But this was a really cool design. But anyway, this part gets attached to a Lazy Susan bearing, and the Lazy Susan bearing gets screwed into the bottom of the frame. The problem I had with having your spools horizontal that I didn't realize is that you can easily tangle your filament.
Yes.
Because the filament will drop. And so I want to have a vertical spool holder, but I don't know where to put it. I'm probably gonna have to put it on I'm thinking about putting it like mounted out to the side here, like way out in the, like to the left or right of my frame, and like just hope it don't bump into people.
You know what you could do is you could do it tight against that frame, and then do 2 pulleys and have it weaving through, so it keeps tension on it, and then up and over with the Bowden tube.
Yeah, I have a feed tube that comes through. The problem is I'm trying not to get the frame too far away from the printer because it's a lot of leverage. So if it's sticking too far out.
Well, I mean the actual printer, not the backpack frame, but the printer frame. Like you can have it like butted right up to it, and if you put enough tension on that baby, you know, you could have it stay there and it'll be steady and it won't untangle.
Vertically. Yeah.
If you went back to the way you had it for the Aris, but had a fixed platform that goes underneath the spool holder. So when you screw the locket, call it a locking ring or whatever, up in to lock the spool on, that this thing would just pop up in there and have arms that come up, or fingers that come up around the spool, maybe in like 4 or 5 places. Yeah,
I've considered that too, because that way I can get it on there. And then also, if I can have it, that wouldn't work. So I was thinking I could wrap it around, but then the filament wouldn't unwind. But yeah, I did have to end up having a feed tube because the feed tube actually prevented it from tangling. And then I added some foam in there to kind of give it friction so that the spindle didn't unravel. That was an issue too. So yeah, you're right. I'm gonna have to have some kind of system, like a pulley or whatever. Right now I'm looking at 8-inch diameter. So if you see this circle right here, that's going to be the size of an average spool, I guess, is 8 inches. So this will fit directly between the legs of the printer. So I can, because the thing is, I also need to have feet so that I can put it down on a table, so it's stable.
You almost need the Lazy Susan in an enclosure with a slot for the filament to come out.
And then I just thought about taking Spanner Hand's filament box, and just mounting that to the frame.
Can they go horizontal? Oh, yeah, mounting it to the frame, yeah.
Well, vertically, and then just mounting it to the frame offset. So it's going to be to the side of my back. But I'm trying to keep it somewhat balanced, though, because, you know, you shift all the weight, and then when you're walking, you're kind of limping on one side.
The Aris feeds, or not the Aris, the H2. Where's the extruder for the H2?
Right here. There's a Bondtech right here.
Okay. I was thinking my Delta, it's hanging up on the top of it.
Most Deltas.
A Lazy Susan up top, but not on that one.
No, filament probably is going to have to be fed to the bottom or have a really long feed tube.
Unless you relocated the extruder. That might be easier. Then
because there's no way to run wiring easily through the towers because of the cheapskates.
You want to hide the wiring.
Yeah, and I can't have the wiring exposed. And if I mounted it to the top, I'd have to run the wires up there and spool them on it. So, and also it'd be really top heavy. So, right now the center of gravity is pretty much like right here, like right at the print bed.
Well, even if you hang
for you.
Well, top heavy for the printer. For me, I think it's fine. I mean, the frame is going to be so hopefully the frame's gonna be so rigid that it doesn't matter. Like it, you know, the frame is actually adding rigidity to the printer, not the other way around. So
That makes sense.
yeah, if I make it out of like 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch plywood, or I'm gonna make it out of a 1/4 inch aluminum plate. I haven't decided yet. You know,
if you hang one of those spanner hands filament holders on the side, you can always counterweight it with another one on the other side.
oh, there we go. And
Just
then I could have dual extruders.
Yeah, or you could just keep it there and make people think, "Whoa, what is it going to do with that one?"
Yeah. Well, the other like usability thing I'm thinking about is like anything that could get in the way of people seeing it. So like the whip wire is going to be kind of hanging out here, so there's going to be a whip wire in the way, but because I can't really do anything about that. But like I don't want to have too much blocking the print.
What if we spooled you some filament on like some 500-gram cardboard spools, keep the weight down?
Yeah, and that's what I did on the Aris last time. So I just had really light spools, and that seemed to work as long as it didn't unravel too much.
Yeah.
So I'd be fine. And not only that, but it made a significant amount of difference, like comfort wise, between a full kilogram spool and like a sample spool.
Right.
Like, it actually made a big difference. But this one's going to be significantly more heavy because I'm adding a lot more hardware to it. But really, it's going to be all aluminum, so it's not going to be that light. I mean, it's not going to be that heavy either. I mean, the whole Aris backpack was probably less than like 15 pounds. So it's more of a comfort thing.
Right.
But that's what I have to consider is like I got to wear this for 8 hours, or I want to wear this for 8 hours. Like at Bay Area Maker Faire was probably the killer, like for this backpack printer. That was probably the hardest thing I've had to do because everything was so spread out and it was indoor, outdoor, wind blowing. You know, I stood in line for the Labo thing like for an hour and a half, and my printer was going the whole time. And actually, I had a friend, my friend Kelly. She wore it for half the time too. But the issue I had with Bay Area Maker Faire is that I was so far away from my base station, which was like in the main hall. I had like a box with a charger. Anyway, I was so far away from my base station that I didn't have time to run and get my batteries. So like I actually ran out of batteries several times, and but yeah, the filament tangling was a big issue, and I'm trying to think of a cheap and easy way to solve that issue. But I think like sample spools would be plenty, like 100 grams, per print, and it just keeps small spools, so it doesn't matter if it tangles because it's not tied to a spool. It'll just kind of free float. I mean, that might be the easier way to do it.
Yeah.
So. But right now, I'm gonna go back with the old way of doing it, where I just did a lazy Susan at the bottom with a 58 millimeter screw together thing. I'll probably use the same bracket, same thing, because it really did work fine. So I mean, again, I have less than a month to do this, so
Yeah.
and ship it and take it on a Southwest flight and not have it get destroyed.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, I know that's a challenge. Or them take my batteries away or something. But yeah, the lipo batteries is not a big issue. They swap it for explosives, and they're like, don't question me.
You can always ship stuff here. You're more than welcome.
Yeah, that actually might be more efficient to ship that. But again, I have to get it done before.
Right.
Yeah, that Wednesday. So yeah, that's why the life-size Joelbot's not going to get done for Murph. I prioritize that. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I'm almost done with it too. I have over 12 kilograms of Build Series PLA like printed already, like maybe 400 or 500 hours on that thing. Yep. Yeah, it's going to be cool when it's done. And 3D Gloop works really good too, so I'm going to use that. But I regret a lot of things building a big print. And I regret not hollowing out the model more. I regret not adding structural support to the model. And I regret not labeling my parts when I printed it too. That's a big part. So I'm sure you guys have done big prints. It can be a challenge.
Yeah, big prints are a challenge. We did a whole. Can I say it? Yeah, I can say it. We're good. We did a whole bumper for F-150, whole front bumper and grill and everything for F-150. And I mean, this thing's massive, and they wanted it in like several parts. So we could have printed it all like in one piece, but they wanted it in several parts, so we had to print it all separately. So like the inside of it, the back, the front, and then sections. And so getting it all together, this was before 3D Gloop was really like, hey, we're 3D Gloop, what's up? And so we had to like figure out how to get it all, and this is all printed in ABS. So we had to figure out how to get it all together. And we ended up, what did we use? We used
acetone, right?
Sorry?
You just acetone them together, like acetone welding?
No, we actually used ABS like liquid. It was just ABS that it just welded it together. And we got it from an auto parts store, I believe. And it was just ABS and liquid ABS that dried up hard. And that's how we got it together. But with 3D Gloop, I mean, you don't have to do that anymore. I mean, it was a mess. Like you push it together and be like everywhere. And wipe it down, and then it would leave like a weird crease and shiny. And they're like, no, we don't want it sanded. We're going to do all that and finish it. And I'm like, okay. Looks like junk, but that's what you want.
Yeah, it's cool stuff, but I spilled it on the floor and got it all in my hand. So like it's definitely not something you want to mess with. But it's methylene chloride, but it has some other stuff in it. It gums up. It's interesting stuff. But it worked really well for PLA, so I'm not gonna...
The PLA Gloop I had didn't really for the little prop pistol thing.
Awesome.
So all this is all separated, but this is all 3D glooped, and it worked really well. The suppressor attached. Well, I guess the rest of the gun attached to the suppressor. This didn't hold with gloop. It was so heavy. This is heavier than this part, which is weird. So this didn't hold to this with gloop. And I actually use Zap-A-Gap. I love Zap-A-Gap. If nobody's used Zap-A-Gap, I love 3D Gloop also, don't get me wrong. But let me show you.
Zap-Gap's the super thin super glue, ain't it? Or CA glue.
Yeah, so Zap-A-Gap, hold on. Zap-A-Gap is CA glue. But it's also a crease filler, a seam filler.
That's cool.
So when it comes out, you can sand it down and it dries clear, and it covers all the seams that I've used it for.
So it's like spotting putty kind of.
Say what?
Like spotting putty?
Yeah, like spotting putty, only it dries hard. Like it dries with the plastic. So this used to be all one piece. Hold on. Let me get my jerry-rigged microphone back.
Hey, Sean, used to be all one piece is not a good way to preach the glue that you're using.
Well, Halloween, let me tell you about Halloween. Halloween night was really weird. I went to the Barcade, 16-bit downtown in Columbus, and some guy challenged me to a fight, a sword fight. And I was like, cool, I'll take you on. And I didn't know he was actually I thought he was just wanted to pose for pictures. And no, he wanted to have a full-on sword fight in the middle of the bar. And anyway, and then we went to a house party, and then it got more wrecked after that. But it didn't break on the it broke on the layers. It didn't break on the seams. So that's all Zap-A-Gap. I haven't refinished it, but there's Zap-A-Gap here, somewhere in here. There's a seam in here, but you can't even see it. And these are the layers that it broke on multiply. Like, those are layers. So it's all printed in different parts. But yeah, I mean, it's great stuff. You can't even see, you can kind of see it right here, but not much. It's good stuff. It's great stuff, actually. So if Gloop doesn't hold it because of weight, then Zap Gap will definitely zap that gap.
You're like a good advertisement.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Not sponsored by Zappa
Sponsored by Zappa-Gap. Get your gap here. No.
Hey, Wes, I was wondering if you had any big prints that you've had that kind of challenge, like assembly.
No, I haven't ventured in that territory yet.
So nothing bigger than your print bed.
I started making a Darkwing Duck gas gun, which was one of my first projects.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
But I never completed it, so everything was just kind of not permanently attached anyway, so I never really got that far to need that. So yeah, I don't really have experience for that. I have no recommendations. I know for other projects when I needed CA glue, I've used baking soda as a kicker.
Yeah, I learned that from I forgot his name, but he made that really cool the robot from Flubber. What was that called? But anyway, he made a replica of that, and he had one of the Star Wars droids. I forgot his name though. He's really cool. He goes to Murph like every year. But yeah, he taught me that trick. But yeah, so I think we're getting tired. I forgot I had laundry that I have to move. Not an excuse to get out of this, but they have me working tomorrow because I work on the weekends, which that's why I'm staying in Louisiana because I had to fix a plasma cutter. Yeah, bigger machines, more problems. That's all I'm gonna say.
Who made Weibo? Who made the robot?
Weibo, is that what it's called?
Weibo?
From Flubber, right?
Yeah, from Flubber, the yellow robot.
I forgot his name. I think I have him on my Facebook.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name either. He's the one that had the R2D2 at Murph last year that Joe Mike was dancing with.
I think so. Yeah. It's not Joe Spanier. It's the other guy because he's the guy from the. He had a big box, the E3D big box printer that was modified. Oh, man. Anyway,
I remember him for some reason.
I wish people just you could look up by what they made, so that who they are.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
I'm the backpack printer kid. That's what I'm gonna just say next to it.
Hey, that's how I knew of you before I saw you on here. So
hey, there you go. Yeah,
the nerd Rolodex.
Carl said it was Bad Wolf Props. That's who it is.
Bad Wolf. Yeah. Bad Wolf Props. He's really talented. He actually I think he painted a whole model while at Murph last year or something like that. He did a whole he did the whole painting and stuff thing of one of the models.
Ow! Sorry.
Cat bit him because the heat bed wasn't on.
Scratch the heck out of me.
Yeah, that's a cat for you.
Turn it on right meow.
He's really nice, but he wants to play, and he's really mad at me because I'm not paying attention to him.
I've got a printer to unclog, so I think you guys are cool for calling it quits. I got that and trying to set up a 11 instance Octoprint server. So,
so did you go with a PC or did you go with a bunch of pies?
I did. I literally an hour before the stream installed Ubuntu on a it's a Core 2 Duo. So I mean, it's nothing. It's just a Best Buy.
Yeah, that's gonna run 11 instances without the camera, though. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm only running one camera that's on pan tilt zoom, so I
Oh,
can.
you can view all your camera.
Yeah,
You got dial up on that thing?
I'll be able to see all the printers on that side, and I think all the printers that are behind me. The CR10 that's in the enclosure has its own dedicated Raspberry Pi. The CR10 that's right there will have its own dedicated Raspberry Pi. And then I have the Duplicator Mini, the TiVo, which I just broke, which doesn't really matter because it was a piece of shit anyhow. And my Delta are all on one Raspberry Pi.
Do you use so you have like a different port for each instance and one IP address?
Yeah, so like Octoprint, by default, Octoprint uses port 5000.
Mm-hmm.
I moved everything. It's 5001, 5002, 5003.
Okay.
That one Raspberry Pi. Now, like the desktop, that'll have port 5001 through 5012 or 11.
Okay. You lose track of how many printers you have. I've done that too.
The idea is eventually, if the desktop can handle it, it's going to do all of them. Two pan tilt zoom. Although the CR10 in the enclosure may keep its own camera and Raspberry Pi.
The only thing I worry about is USB traffic or USB interference and stuff.
We'll find out. I've been doing a bit of research, and it sounds like it should be possible.
Yeah.
I'm running 3 different USB cards in it, though. So,
or you got the expensive route and put a duet on all your printers. That's my solution.
too well to mess with them, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm proud of with my print farm, besides that CR10 that just clogged up, which that's something completely new. Everything works really well except for the TiVo.
That's a good selling point.
Just set it on fire, dude.
Yeah. Can we go like Office Space at Murph and like bring all your printers that
you can, but I'm taking the electronics off of it because that's what I bought that printer for. Too.
Yeah,
bring the Nada flamethrower and use the Nada flamethrower on the.
Like I've got one for you before we go. So I've actually my Prusa has been giving me problems, as printers do. This one's really weird. So so I'll start a print, and to troubleshoot this down, I'm trying to print some like the default prints that come on the SD card, like nothing super custom stuff that's supposed to work out of the box that I've printed before successfully. All right. I've flashed the firmware. I've recalibrated every calibration tool, everything. I start the print and it doesn't do it at the same spot all the time, but it hasn't gone successfully printing an object like in a long time. It'll start printing, and then the head just kind of goes off and does random directions for no reason.
Sounds like you have a loose wire to your.
Think so?
To your Z or to your X or Y.
It goes in every direction though. It goes forward and then it hits the limit and goes back, goes up, hits the limit, goes back. And then it seems like it has no. Huh?
Probably a bad control board, like something like electrical interference inside the controller, causing the steppers to drift or like get random, step in direction signals.
And it's not like it's like adding a step or like 2. It's like going full on to the extent of the that boundary in that axis. And it.
I would contact Prusa support at like 10:30, 11 p.m. ish.
Yeah, when they're awake.
Yeah.
Well,
you know why it is. It's because they use zip ties.
What was that?
It's because they use zip ties. That's why it's doing it.
Yeah, which Prusa is that, Wes?
It's the i3 Mark II.
Mark II.
Yeah, I've gotten plenty of good prints out of it in the past.
Rock solid though.
But yeah, I just started doing it, and I thought it was like something with a weird print, so I just went with the default ones that are on the card that I've printed successfully before. I flashed the firmware. I eliminated first I was using like the Raspberry Pi, Octoprint, took that off, so nothing's feeding it prints, it's doing it all on board from the SD card. There's no other computer hooked to it, and it does it. If it's not a particular model, I'll try like the Triceratops print. It does the first couple layers perfectly, and then at some point it just starts going crazy and goes all over the place and never goes back to where it was.
Stock
That has
G-code
the,
that came with it.
Hmm?
Dude, the stock G-code files that came with it.
Yeah.
pre-release.
Maybe they're corrupt.
look at
If the
Everyone?
Well,
Maybe.
if the SD card screwed up,
Yeah.
try
that has the old Rambo board in it, right?
yeah.
Check and see. That has the wow. Why I must be tired. What are they called? The things that break when they get overloaded.
Fuses.
Fuses.
Yeah,
Fuses.
a lot of other fuses. Yeah.
Yeah, check the fuses. See if there's a broken fuse.
But you would think that that would like cause all prints to fail initially, like from the beginning, right? Not at just at some random interval.
Yeah, because if
Maybe.
you trip the poly fuses, you'll either lose main power and the control won't even display won't light up, or you'll lose heat bed and heaters essentially.
It's very strange.
Try
I would just try a new SD card. Yeah.
yeah,
SD
because
card.
SD cards are only good for so long. If it's either the card itself is corrupting or something just screwed it up, you might
Or actually check the. You can even check the cable. Isolate the cable from the LCD screen, because that sends the SD card signals through it. But I mean, there should be a checksum so that it's not giving it like really random data. But if the SD card is randomly reading like bad values, because I'm sure it's reading it out ASCII or some kind of 8-bit data from. Anyway, yeah, I would just try a different SD card and then check for like electrical interference, like
If that doesn't work, Wes, try the SD card. If that doesn't work, Shane from Prusa,
Yeah.
who you want to get in touch with, tell him the Friday night hangout told
Okay.
you to track him down. And I can send you his Twitter. It's not going to do you a lot of good to send you his Twitter because he can't get in touch with you per Prusa from that. But he is one of 2 in the U.S. That it does their tech support during our hours.
Do you think if I send a print through Octoprint where it doesn't come off the SD card,
That would
Should
rule
it-
out the SD card.
shouldn't it reel out there?
Yeah. Yeah, that probably works.
So
I'll
it's
try
still
that.
working when you do it through Octoprint or not?
It's been so long since I've tried, I can't remember, to be honest.
Okay.
Try Octoprint. See if the problem goes away. If it does, then it's either
Right.
got the SD card reader, which is part of the display, or the SD card at that point. It almost has to be that.
Or we could set it on fire.
Yeah.
Hey, there's always that.
Bring it along. We got a TiVo. I have an Aris. I mean,
There you go. Let's just start set. I got printers we can set on fire.
yeah.
I'll try some stuff out. I'll let you know what happens.
Yeah. I'm sure the fairgrounds would love us if we set printers on fire.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Ryan said too could be the LCD cable.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. The LCD cable,
Yeah.
because that actually the LCD cable kind of runs along the bottom of the. It's a really long run for an LCD cable.
Dave
Yeah.
said if it is the LCD, if you print from Octoprint and it still acts up. Okay, but let me read his exactly. He said random errors on printing, replace the SD card. That's the first easiest step. Well, if you have Octoprint already set up, that's probably easier. But replace the SD card. If it's still broke, then unplug the screen and try printing from Octoprint. Octoprint.
Okay.
And then if that doesn't work, call Shane.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll
If
try.
that doesn't work, set it on fire.
Yes. Option fire.
Just wants to burn something.
Fire. I just want to set something on fire, guys. Come on.
Does this have anything to do with 3D printing? Or do you
Help a
just-
brother out.
Why?
Sweet. Thanks, guys. I'll try it out.
All right. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right, guys. I think we'll call it quits there, and we'll see everybody on the European stream next week or the next US stream in 2 weeks. See everybody.
Cool. Yeah, I'll see you, Wes. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, if
Good
you're
Sean.
to the West, go
All right.
subscribe to Wes.
See you, Mitch.
Yeah.